Warrior Lore. Chapter 2407. Little Xingxing, are you all right? Du Xiaofu asked in surprise as he looked at little Xingxing, who seemed to be completely fine. It doesn't seem to have much effect on me. It can't hurt my dragon soul. Little Xingxing said proudly. This strange blood-red energy had no effect at all in her body. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was speechless. Since they were not afraid of these strange energies, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing decided not to block these strange energy attacks at all. They continued to move forward. An endless stream of strange blood-red energy attacks surged into Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing's bodies, but to no avail. In the end, it seemed to have sensed something. At this moment, the endless stream of strange blood-red energy gradually formed a terrifying blood-red vortex in front of Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. Within the terrifying blood-red vortex, frightening energy ripples were like a sea of blood. The aura was enough to make a saint suck in a breath of cold air and not dare to touch it. However, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing were still within it. Their expressions were calm, as if they were not affected at all. Although they were not afraid of the terrifying blood-red vortex, it still blocked their path. Du Xiaofu roared, and the thunder martial vein swept out. Purple-gold lightning erupted and destroyed it. After a while, the path ahead became wider and wider. It was also at this moment that the endless stream of strange blood-red energy disappeared without a trace. The primordial spirit Crimson Horse Monkey's body returned. It sat on the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian and continued to close its eyes to refine the strange and scorching energy it had devoured. We're finally out. Okay. Little Xingxing's little eyes turned, and she took a deep breath. How far had it been? She did not dare to be careless because of the dangers along the way. Du Xiaofu also put away the thunder martial vein and blue spirit armor. He raised his head and looked ahead. At this moment, the two of them had already walked out of the strange place. Ahead of them was an even darker mountain range. Rumble, rumble. A series of deep sonic booms came from the mountain range in front of them. Seems like someone is fighting. Someone has already reached this place.
Yes.
Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He and little Xingxing looked at each other, and their figures immediately, the two of them rushed out. However, in this space, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing's, their speed was greatly affected. They could not be compared to the outside and could not tear the void. Space. When Xiaofu, it was as if the passages from the outside, just from the outside was, they all the passages from the outside to the outside from the outside. That in the end, they all the passages from the outside from the outside from the outside. Like, was his Xingxing do? It wasn't it. Sounded. S. He's a S. S2. Sun Qin is a member of the Sun family. Du Xiaofu was a little surprised. The figures that appeared in front of him were Sun Qin, Sun Wu ancestor, and the others from the Sun family. From the looks of it, there seemed to be a few people missing. They might have been killed. Brother Sun Wu, you guys are fast. Du Xiaofu saw that the Sun family was in trouble. He had received many favors from the Sun family, so he did not hesitate and directly rushed over. Rock Emperor, be careful. Just as Du Xiaofu approached, Sun Qin shouted. The Nirvana's halo fluctuated above the void. At the same time, Du Xiaofu also felt something strange. He instantly raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, a figure leaped out. Then, a huge fist was condensed with terrifying profound qi. It was filled with mysterious runes, and it fiercely smashed towards Du Xiaofu. The energy contained in the fist directly shattered the void. An invisible force directly shook the space, and it was accompanied by a bloody aura. This was the Sun family's martial skill. The one who attacked was an expert from the Sun family. Du Xiaofu's eyes were shocked. He sensed something strange. His face suddenly darkened. He shook his arm, and golden light burst out. A fist seal condensed and finally collided with the former's fist seal. Bang! Bang! A deep muffled sound exploded. The violent force at the place where the two fists collided directly exploded the space. The invisible force surged out in all directions, and the aura was overbearing. Ding ding! Bang! The Sun family's expert's figure was immediately forced back a dozen steps. Du Xiaofu immediately looked over. Only then did he see that the Sun family's expert's eyes were scarlet red. His expression and aura were also extremely abnormal. Rock Emperor, their primordial spirits are affected, Sun Qin shouted. Her graceful figure instantly took the opportunity to appear in front of the Sun family's expert. The mysterious runes on the talisman burned brightly. She condensed a hand seal, and finally, several hand seals fell on the Sun family's expert's head. Only then did the redness in the Sun family's expert's eyes recede. Then, he was astonished, as if he didn't know what had happened. Rock Emperor, there is a strange energy in the surroundings that affects the primordial spirits. If you don't pay attention, the primordial spirits with weak primordial spirits will fall into a demonic state and suffer from chi deviation. When the time comes, you will not be able to distinguish between friend and foe, and will directly kill your companions. The Sun family's ancestor arrived at Du Xiaofu's side. At this moment, his old face was pale. His expression was grave, and he was panting. Several Sun family's experts were also affected at this moment. Roar! Seeing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. Suddenly, a golden light fluctuated in his eyes, and a vigorous aura directly swept out. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's mouth roared like a dragon roaring in the nine heavens, and a divine elephant trumpeting came out. It was as if a heavenly thunder had exploded in the space, and a loud bang reverberated in the void. Ayo! The sound wave shook the sky, like a dragon roaring in the nine heavens. The sound wave spread out like a tide of air, shaking the space violently and distorting it. Chi-la-la! This sound wave contained the power to move mountains and overturn seas. It was enough to make the mountains collapse and the earth crack, destroying everything. It was Du Xiaofu's domineering way that contained a domineering martial intent. The sound wave swept out, making a strange sound of wind and thunder, like the roar of heavenly thunder. When the sound wave fell, the Sun family's experts who were affected all returned to normal. Each of them revealed a confused look, as if they didn't notice that they were affected just now. Retreat quickly. At the same time, the Sun family's great ancestor was overjoyed, and immediately ordered the Sun family's experts to escape from that strange place. Du Xiaofu secretly protected them, and everyone successfully escaped. That was close. The Sun family's great ancestor and the other Sun family's experts gasped with lingering fear. There were dangers all along the way, and several of the Sun family's experts had died. Rock Emperor, did you encounter any danger along the way? Sun Qin's beautiful eyes looked at him. Du Xiaofu was grateful. Fortunately, he had helped just now. Otherwise, who knew how many of the Sun family's experts would have died? It was also quite dangerous, Du Xiaofu said. He was also secretly focused. If he had known that it would lead to this place, he wouldn't have separated from Du Xiaohuang and the others. It was a dangerous journey, and he couldn't help but be a little worried. After a short pause, Du Xiaofu, little Xingxing, and the Sun family's experts continued to move forward. They were still very careful along the way. No one dared to be careless. There was danger at every step, and they could die at any time. They didn't know how big the space was. As they entered this strange mountain forest, the deeper they went, the greater the pressure on them seemed to be. In the end, the Sun family's experts couldn't help but set up chi halos to resist the pressure. The space was confined, and it was difficult to fly. Forcibly flying consumed a lot of great Tao. Du Xiaofu didn't dare to take the risk. He could only walk with his feet on the ground. The path under his feet was rugged mountain roads and valleys. Hey, be careful. After a long distance, Du Xiaofu was surprised that there was no danger. Just then, he felt a slight dizziness in his mind that could affect his primordial spirit. At the same time, Du Xiaofu also felt an invisible pressure penetrating his mind and crushing his primordial spirit in his Naiwan palace. Hey, however, at this moment, Du Xiaofu was once again surprised to find that just as this invisible force penetrated his mind, the spiritual thunder in his primordial spirit immediately released its pressure. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, causing the force to reveal itself. In the face of the spiritual thunder, It retreated rapidly as if it had seen a ghost and didn't dare to penetrate it again. Du Xiaofu was not surprised by the effect of the spiritual thunder. However, Du Xiaofu was more and more shocked by this strange place. There were unexpected dangers everywhere. Roar! Roar! A roar was heard instantly. At the same time, a huge, ferocious demonic beast leaped out from the void in front of them. It was like a mountain as it stepped out. Its roar was deafening. Its huge hooves were like pillars in the sky. They were already directly stomping down on Du Xiaofu and the others. Du Xiaofu had already informed Sun Qin, Ancestor Sun Yi, and the rest were already on guard. Little Xingxing's slightly tender face sank. Profound chi that covered the sky and earth surged out from his body. As his shout sounded, he waved his small hand and a fist imprint immediately turned into a blurry scarlet-red light shadow. It shot out like a bolt of lightning. The fist imprint contained a majestic and terrifying golden flame energy. The entire space trembled and the void rumbled, following which it directly charged towards the huge demonic beast hoof that was descending from the sky. Little Xingxing's blazing golden fist print, under the astonished gazes of the Sun family, burned the void with the blazing golden flame talisman inscriptions. Finally, like a meteorite, it crashed under the huge demonic beast's hooves. Boom! At this moment, the entire void trembled with a muffled sound. Space turned sluggish for a moment. Then, a glaring golden flame talisman inscription light burst out from the bottom of the demonic beast's hooves. Roar! Roar! Following the miserable roar of the huge demonic beast, a thunderous sonic boom exploded in the sky. The sonic boom suddenly resounded across the sky like thunder. Crack, crack, crack. In the sky, a monstrous blazing aura erupted. The huge hooves of the huge demonic beast collapsed layer by layer, instantly turning into fragments that scattered everywhere. The huge demonic beast was smashed into pieces by little Xingxing's punch. It's an energy illusion. Sun Qin's brows were tightly knitted. The terrifying demonic beast earlier was only an energy illusion. A war. Roar. However, everything suddenly changed. A huge shadow of a ferocious wolf broke through the sky and opened its ferocious mouth. It was probably over 1,000 feet in size. In an instant, it pounced out from behind everyone. It carried a kind of monstrous aura of blood and evil that absolutely affected everyone's soul. Such a ferocious wolf was like a living creature. It had silently approached behind everyone, making it difficult for people to detect. As soon as the ferocious wolf illusion appeared, it directly pounced on Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu suddenly turned his head and looked directly at the ferocious wolf. The ferocious wolf's crimson eyes suddenly flashed with a bloody light. Its aura was terrifying and strange. Without any pause, Du Xiaofu's figure retreated slightly. A punch blasted out, carrying an extremely terrifying energy storm. In an instant, it swept out in all directions. The golden talisman inscription enveloped the surrounding space like an arc of light. Qila. Qi. This punch was incomparably overbearing. It instantly blasted the ferocious wolf. However, this ferocious wolf seemed to have spiritual intelligence. Its huge body suddenly turned around, and its sharp claws stretched out from the space. The bloody aura on its body assaulted the nostrils. It actually avoided Du Xiaofu's punch. With the bloody aura, its claws were already in front of Du Xiaofu. An energy illusion with the aura of a holy beast. Qila. At this moment, the experts of the Sun family had already turned their heads. They felt the aura of this giant wolf illusion. They were extremely shocked. This illusion actually had the aura of a holy beast. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Du Xiaofu's face sank slightly. His attacks were suppressed in this space, whether it was speed or strength, but this fierce wolf's energy phantom was not affected in the slightest. Break! Using the wave-like carefree steps, Du Xiaofu's body suddenly leaned back. In an instant, his fist shook again. Immediately, a space dent appeared in front of him, and it heavily collided with the ferocious wolf's claw. Bang! Bang! Such a collision shattered a large area of space. The fist and the claw suddenly collided with each other. Under the low and deep sound of the explosion, the resplendent runes shattered. The monstrous energy turned into a storm and swept out. The giant wolf illusion was directly shattered. The surrounding space was affected by the impact. It was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was splitting. The huge rocks were smashed, revealing cracks. The ground cracked, and the gravel flew everywhere. Under the havoc of this terrifying energy, everyone was a little shocked. After the two giant beasts were destroyed by Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing, the surroundings returned to normal. I didn't expect there to be some energy demonic beast illusions here. They seem to be some ancient demonic beast illusions.
Yes.
Sun Quang's old ancestor was puzzled. The giant beast and ferocious wolf illusions just now were not ordinary. Their original bodies had long disappeared. He had only seen them in the records of the sacred palace. These energy demonic beast illusions are very strange. They seem to have spiritual intelligence. Little Xingxing said, "This place is strange. Everything is possible. Everyone, be extra careful." Du Xiaofu said to everyone. Everyone continued to move forward. With the attack of the energy demonic beast illusions just now, they did not dare to be careless. Along the way, Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, Sun Qin, and Sun Quang's old ancestor were always paying attention to their surroundings. Gradually, in the void ahead, strange demonic beast roars could be heard from time to time. The sound became louder and louder, and finally reached the point of deafening. Everyone became more and more serious. In this strange place, everyone was suppressed in various ways. Even their vision was limited. They had no choice but to be more careful. Chi, a blood-red waterfall suddenly fell from the sky. In an instant, the space was filled with an unparalleled evil aura. It shrouded the void as if it was going to cover everything in the void. It was like a cloud hanging from the sky. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes and swept his gaze over. It was actually an extremely gigantic phantom of a ferocious bird. Under its terrifying ferocious might, it crushed the space and directly appeared above everyone's heads. Judging from its aura, it was much stronger than the ferocious wolf phantom earlier. His face darkened. Du Xiaofu's golden talisman inscription spread out instantly. The rock's chaos-crushing claw swept out directly. Boom! Chi! As the claw exploded with golden light, it was as if it was going to tear the space apart. Dazzling talisman inscriptions wreaked havoc like golden lightning. It was as if a golden-winged rock was about to spread its wings and soar to the 9 heavens. An incomparably domineering aura erupted from Du Xiaofu's body. This domineering and fierce aura made the ferocious bird's blood-red eyes tremble in fear. It was as if it was facing a king. Golden light burst out from the claw like countless golden lightning snakes. With an incomparably domineering posture, the claw viciously grabbed the ferocious bird's body. Voila! The terrifying golden claw fell. Facing the huge, ferocious bird, a terrifying force swept out and destroyed it without any delay. Then, the bird collapsed. What a monster! Sun Quang's old ancestor, Sun Qin, and the others sighed. This guy could still erupt with such ferocious power in this environment. It was really terrifying. They didn't know how the Ji family and Yao family offended the Rock Emperor. They could be considered unlucky. Woo! A giant python suddenly appeared in the place where the ferocious bird was destroyed and directly swept towards Du Xiaofu. Qila! At the same time, Du Xiaofu used his hand as a sword, and a sword ray with dazzling talisman inscriptions swept out. It cut through the void as if it was cutting through tofu, causing a huge crack to appear in the spatial ripples. Under the sword ray, the giant python's shadow was directly cut into pieces. Sun Quang's old ancestor and the other experts of the Sun family were stunned. Although they had already seen Du Xiaofu kill Jijin and Yao Lingcue, they still couldn't help but feel shocked. The space was suppressed, and these energy shadows were like tigers that had grown wings in this space. Yet, they were destroyed so easily by Du Xiaofu. Ayo! Ayo! Roar! Killing 2 demonic beast shadows in succession seemed to have caused a chain reaction. Suddenly, there were many beast roars in the surroundings. Let's go. We must have caused some commotion. If we are trapped by these energy shadows, It will definitely be dangerous if we consume too much of our Xian Qi, Sun Quang's old ancestor said, and at the same time, he suddenly sped away. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He understood Sun Quang's old ancestor's words and immediately sped up, not daring to stay. At this moment, increasing his speed within this space consumed several times more Xian Qi than usual. Even using his attack power consumed quite a bit of Xian Qi. Therefore, once he was trapped by those strange energy demonic beasts, even if he was able to kill them, it would be equivalent to pulling himself into a dangerous situation if he expended too much Xian Qi. In this strange and dangerous place, they might encounter great danger at 40. Du Xiaofu didn't dare to be careless. Whoosh whoosh, Du Xiaofu and the others didn't have the time to worry about the consumption of their energy. Du Xiaofu and the others sped up. The moment they sensed the aura of the energy demonic beast in front of them, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing would immediately lead the others to avoid it. It wasn't that Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing were afraid of these strange energy shadows, but they were afraid that if they delayed any longer, they would attract a large group of these strange energy demonic beasts. If they formed a beast tide, the consequences would be severe. However, no matter how Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing avoided them with their sharp mental strength, they still encountered many energy demonic beasts. They could only kill them immediately. Ayo, this went on for more than half an hour. In the void, dozens of ferocious energy demonic beast phantoms appeared, filling the void like a mountain. Their huge, ferocious eyes were filled with a bloody color, and their pupils were empty and filled with killing intent. These dozens of energy demonic beasts stared at Du Xiaofu and the others. Their bloody eyes glowed. At the same time, Du Xiaofu, little Xingxing, and the others also saw these demonic beast shadows. They looked at each other. Holy shit! Du Xiaofu cursed inwardly. They were really unlucky to encounter dozens of these strange demonic beast shadows. Run! Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing had already rushed out while the experts of the Sun family were still in shock and fear. Their figures fled as fast as lightning. Hurry up! We'll be in trouble if we encounter more of these energy demonic beast shadows. Sun Quang's expression changed as he shouted to the experts of the Sun family behind him. With so many strange energy demonic beast shadows here, it would be troublesome if they encountered more of them. Roar! Ayo! These energy demonic beast shadows stared at Du Xiaofu and the others. They immediately roared crazily and chased after them. In an instant, dozens of these strange demonic beast shadows began to attack, making it impossible for them to escape. Damn it! Do you really think we're afraid of you? Ayo! Du Xiaofu shouted and said to little Xingxing, hurry up and finish them off as soon as possible, lest we attract more of them. Roar! As his voice fell, Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened, and the power of thunder spread out from his body at lightning speed. Walala! Golden flames surged as little Xingxing attacked. The blazing golden flames burned the void. There was no need for Sun Quang's ancestor and Sun Qin to take action. Under little Xingxing and Du Xiaofu's quick battle, these strange energy demonic beast shadows were directly destroyed one by one. Ayo ayo! Roar! 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 After Du Xiaofu killed the last intentional energy demonic beast phantom, a series of shocking and deafening roars once again came from the distant void, resounding from afar and nearing. There are more and more of them. Hurry up and leave. Roar! Why are there so many strange things here? Roar! Sun Quang's, Sun Qin's, and the others' faces changed greatly. Hurry up and leave. Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing shouted and ran away. The expressions of the experts of the Sun family changed. They recovered and quickly left, not daring to stay for a moment. Their figures disappeared like lightning. At this moment, everyone sped up. Although their speed was extremely fast, it was at the cost of consumption. Doing anything here would consume more energy. Chapter 2408. It seems to be safer now. Finally, a moment later, Du Xiaofu, little Xingxing, and the others appeared on top of a mountain. The strange demonic beast phantoms behind them seemed to have been shaken off further and further away. Some of the Sun Clan experts were panting heavily, still in a state of shock. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and looked around. Their field of vision was already extremely wide. "Look, what's that?" Sun Qin's voice rang out. When everyone heard this, they immediately looked over and saw that at the end of their field of vision, there was a slight fluctuation that distorted the void. The distorted space caused everyone's heartbeat to accelerate. When they looked over carefully, they discovered that the space was violently distorting, emitting a hua-hua sound that resembled flowing water. As this sound spread out, the fluctuations in the space became more and more intense. "That's lightning energy. It's the power of lightning." Sun Wu and the other experts from the Sun Clan exclaimed. After carefully looking at the spatial ripple in the distant space, their eyes were immediately filled with shock. A bright red color quietly rose within their eyes. Even their breathing had become much rougher. The spatial fluctuations in front of them were actually a large patch of lightning runes that covered the sky. The hua-la-la sound was not a spatial fluctuation, but an endless stream of resplendent lightning arcs that directly tore apart space. Hua-la-la, amidst the strange sound of electric arcs, the mysterious runes of the lightning symbol puppet rippled like a vast ocean. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at the distorted space in front of him. Immediately, he felt an extremely terrifying energy ripple from the bottom of his heart. This energy ripple caused Du Xiaofu to feel extreme panic, but also a familiar feeling. Immediately after, the lightning martial veins in Du Xiaofu's body surged, covering his entire body in an instant, as if they were about to burst out of his body. There's another change. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit once again probed into the Cosmos Sac in Tianwu Academy. This time, it was actually emitting a visible glow. Du Xiaofu took out his Qinkuan bag. The talisman engravings on the Qinkuan bag began to fluctuate and emit an ancient light. It seemed to be attracted by the lightning talisman. "Father, there seems to be a building inside." Little Xingxing spoke. His gaze was focused on the lightning runes in the distant space. His field of vision was already extremely vast. The lightning runes rippled like a stormy sea. It was impossible to see the end of it with a single glance. It was extremely frightening. Everyone focused their eyes and carefully looked ahead. Only then did they discover that in the vast space of lightning that covered the sky, there was a huge silhouette that was like a mountain peak. It was like an incomparably huge building. That building was terrifyingly huge. Through the ripples of the lightning runes, one could vaguely sense an ancient and desolate aura spreading out from it. It was as if a monstrous, ferocious beast was crawling in the air. As the lightning runes flickered, everyone who looked at it felt their hearts tremble. Their scalps turned numb, and their primordial spirits palpitated. Looking at the huge building that was enveloped by the lightning runes and the ancient and desolate aura, the members of the Sun Clan looked at each other in dismay. The same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. They had encountered so much danger all the way here. There was definitely a supreme treasure and a huge opportunity in this terrifying place, and the treasure and opportunity must be inside. Could it be related to Tianwu Academy? Du Xiaofu frowned at this moment. Looking at the silhouette of the building in the space of lightning, a feeling of insignificance rose in his heart. The reaction from the Cosmos Sac in his hand made Du Xiaofu feel that this place might be related to Tianwu Academy. However, Du Xiaofu couldn't understand. This was the Heaven Burial Wasteland. How could it be related to Tianwu Academy? Du Xiaofu didn't think too much about it, but he felt that this place was definitely related to Tianwu Academy. What a powerful aura. It's definitely not ordinary ahead. It won't be easy to enter. Sun Wu sighed. Although he suspected that there might be precious treasures and enormous opportunities inside, he also understood that if he wanted to enter, it wouldn't be difficult for him to sense the terrifying pressure emanating from the lightning talisman symbols, even though he was still very far away. Who left behind such a majestic aura in such a place? Some of the experts from the Sun Clan exclaimed in shock. "Father, there must be supreme treasures and opportunities inside. We're going to be rich this time." "Father!" Only little Xingxing, with an absolute smile on his face, very excitedly transmitted his voice to Du Xiaofu's ears, saying, "This should have been left behind by those almighty people. To have set up so many methods, with such a big hand, The things left behind are definitely not ordinary. Father, don't be careless, Du Xiaofu reminded little Xingxing. Supreme treasures and opportunities were important, but their lives were more important. They mustn't put themselves in danger. Everyone, I intend to go in and take a look. However, I'm afraid that it will be extremely dangerous inside. I might not be able to protect all of you. It's up to you whether you want to enter or not. Du Xiaofu said to old ancestor Sun Wu and the others. The reaction from the Cosmo sack in his hand was definitely related to Tianwu Academy. No matter what, he had to go in and take a look. Besides, the lightning rune space might pose a fatal threat to others, but it wasn't much of a threat to him. However, the dangers inside were unknown. Du Xiaofu was afraid that he wouldn't be able to protect the experts of the Sun Clan. Rock Emperor, please go ahead. Thank you for your help. Old ancestor Sun Wu cupped his fists. He understood that if it wasn't for the help of the young man in front of him, the Sun Clan would have lost many experts. He was already extremely grateful. Roar. At this moment, as soon as old ancestor Sun Wu finished speaking, a few loud roars came from behind him. Swoosh, swoosh. Everyone looked over in shock. They were afraid that the strange energy shadows were chasing after them. Fortunately, it was a few figures rushing over. They seemed to be trying to shake off the strange demonic beasts chasing after them. The few figures landed. When they saw Du Xiaofu, Sun Wu, and the others, they couldn't help but reveal a joyful expression. The Jiang clan. The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth twitched. He didn't expect that the Jiang family would be the first to arrive here. However, looking at the Jiang family's lineup, it seemed that only Jiang Yiting, a Saint Realm cultivator, and a few others were left. All of them were injured and looked battered and exhausted. The rest of them might have already died. What's that? When Jiang Yiting and the others arrived and saw Du Xiaofu, Sun Kuei, and the others, they secretly heaved a sigh of relief when they sensed that the strange energy demonic beast phantoms behind them didn't chase after them. Then, they looked at the space filled with electric light that blotted out the sky and paled in fright under the pressure. Whoosh whoosh in the sky. A few more figures landed. They were from the Beast Alliance, and their cultivation wasn't weak. However, they were also in a sorry state. It seemed that they were also being chased by the demonic beasts and spiritual beasts. When they landed, they saw the movement in front of them and were tongue-tied. Little Star, let's go, Du Xiaofu said. He couldn't keep protecting the Sun Clan. He leaped up and immediately rushed towards the space where the lightning runes fluctuated. Let's go. Go. Seeing this, someone immediately followed. At this point, the treasure was probably right in front of them. The shocking lightning space was definitely the destination of this space. They didn't want to miss it. Everyone wait here. I'll go take a look. Old ancestor Sun Wu said. He was unwilling to go in, but he knew that it was a dangerous place. He asked Sun Qin and the others to wait outside while he went in alone. Then, he also leaped up and rushed towards the lightning space. Whoosh whoosh. The experts from the Beast Alliance who were riddled with injuries were unwilling to be left behind. They quickly followed and stopped a few dozen feet away from the lightning runes. Du Xiaofu was also standing in front of the lightning runes that covered the sky and earth. He raised his eyes and looked at it. The lightning space was even larger. At a glance, the lightning space seemed to cover the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire void. Zila-la, the palpitating lightning arcs seemed to pour down from the 9 heavens. Under the shocking destructive aura, the spirits of the weaker creatures who were slightly closer to it trembled. They felt an invisible pressure that made their hair stand on end and their hearts palpitate. Rumble, rumble. Lightning runes fluctuated, distorting the space and faintly emitting rumbling sounds. As the rumbling sounds spread, the space in front of them fluctuated violently. The astonishing might of the thunder made the hearts of the nearby living creatures quicken, and all of them were filled with astonishment. Quietly, there were still living creatures that continued to approach. When they looked at the vast lightning symbol space, their eyes quietly turned scarlet red. Even their breathing had become a lot rougher. With such a huge expenditure, it was likely that there was an absolute treasure within. Sizzle! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Amidst the sizzling sound of the strange electric arcs, The unceasing electric arcs were accompanied by the resplendent lightning runes. The electric arcs directly tore apart the space. Everyone felt an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation from the bottom of their hearts. This kind of fluctuation made them feel extreme panic and their souls tremble. Looking at the vast lightning space, all the creatures felt their hearts palpitate. Even Saint Realm cultivators were like this. It was no wonder that this strange spatial seal was used to conceal it. Such a vast lightning space was shocking no matter where it was. What kind of treasure is hidden inside? Little Xingxing raised his eyes and licked his lips with a faint golden flame burning in his eyes. Looking at the frightening lightning space in front of him, a huge silhouette like a mountain peak vaguely appeared in the space. It was an incomparably huge building. This huge building was tall and majestic. Through the lightning-ruined space, it spread an ancient, desolate aura. It made people feel as if they were facing an ancient, super-ferocious beast that was sleeping. Looking at it would make people's hearts go numb and their primordial spirit beast souls palpitate. This gave Du Xiaofu a feeling that the inside of the huge building was the real dangerous place. It was much more terrifying than the lightning space in front of him, and this kind of building that made people and primordial spirit beast souls terrified. Everyone looked at each other, and the same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. There must be a treasure inside this terrifying door. This should be the mansion of an ancient, almighty expert. Sun Wu stepped forward alone and looked in front of him with a shocked expression. This place, how do we get in? Little Xingxing said. Do we force our way in? Let me take a look. There's no hurry. No hurry. Du Xiaofu stared at the space of thunder and lightning in front of him. The thunder martial vein in his body seemed to be itching to give it a try. Under the thunder martial vein, there seemed to be a place where the thunder and lightning were relatively weaker. He could vaguely see an entrance. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, some people could no longer hold back and began to try to move forward. Their cultivations were not ordinary. There was a peak Master Realm monster beast and an early Saint Realm cultivator who looked like a wandering cultivator. They set up a protective halo of profound energy around their bodies and began to carefully and tentatively move forward. They moved forward slowly, and every step they took was done with extreme caution. Rumble, rumble, rumble. But just when the two of them were dozens of feet away from the lightning runes, lightning suddenly flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Dazzling lightning bolts struck down from the sky. The lightning runes went berserk. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in their ears. They condensed into arm-sized lightning bolts that fell at a speed that was almost impossible to see with the naked eye. Everything happened too fast. When the two of them felt the dazzling lightning approaching them, they quickly wanted to escape but found that it was already too late. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With a loud bang, the thunderbolt landed on the protective halo. Immediately, electric arcs exploded. Dazzling electric arcs flowed, and then the protective halo was destroyed into pieces. A deep hole appeared in the space because of the explosion, and the bodies of the two people were blown to pieces. What a powerful lightning energy! Boom! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw that two people had been killed, and one of them was a sage expert. There were still a few experts who had leaped out, but they were scared when they saw that the two people in front of them had been killed in an instant, and they retreated in a hurry. Rumble, rumble. At the same time, the lightning runes broke through the sky and shot out several bolts of lightning. They instantly pierced through the void and landed on the experts who were retreating quickly as if they had a mind of their own. Rumble, rumble. The space exploded and the experts were instantly turned into ashes. Not even their corpses remained and their souls were destroyed. Fortunately, it's not over yet. Sun Kuei's eyes widened as he sucked in a breath of cold air. It doesn't seem to be at the level of the purple gold profound bomb. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes slightly. Although the lightning energy was powerful, its power was far from the level of the purple gold profound bomb. Of course, this kind of power referred to the power of the lightning, not the power of the bombardment at this moment. Du Xiaofu sensed that the thunderbolt power had directly killed those experts. In fact, some experts of the initial stage of the Sage Realm had even been killed. However, he could feel that the thunderbolt power wasn't unstoppable even if he was a little stronger than before. Let's go. Go. Looking at the surrounding sky, little Star was eager to try. She was not afraid of the lightning-ruined space. Then let's go together. Let's go. Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. He was not worried about Little Star. Little Star's strength was naturally unquestionable. No matter what was inside, they had to go. Whoosh whoosh. The figures of the father and daughter immediately swept across the sky and approached the lightning-ruined space in an instant. All eyes were immediately focused on the father and daughter. Rumble, 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 rumble. Almost at the same time, in the sky, a strange aura suddenly surged. The surrounding space was distorted. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The wind rose and clouds surged. The whole sky was suddenly covered with bright lightning. It was like a lightning waterfall hanging in the sky. Terrifying energy fluctuations spread out from it. The surrounding space, along with the sizzling lightning, cracked inch by inch. At this moment, the surrounding void was occupied by a thundercloud with palpitating lightning. A powerful lightning pressure spread out from it. Far away in the void, at this moment, everyone in the distance felt a chill in their hearts. Retreat! Retreat! The living beings present trembled. They had already exhausted too much of their strength. At the same time, they were also seriously injured. As their expressions changed drastically, they did not dare to be careless. Vast and mighty profound chi once again spread out from within their bodies. Their feet shot out, transforming into numerous afterimages as they hurriedly fled. Within the lightning fluctuations, all of them felt absolute danger, so as to avoid suffering an unexpected calamity. Be careful, Du Xiaofu reminded Little Star. As his voice fell, the bright lightning in the sky had already spread out in an instant. It connected with the lightning-ruined space and seemed to have merged into one. Immediately, countless lightning bolts condensed into a palpitating thunderbolt that smashed down. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Boom. However, at this moment, an overwhelming amount of lightning struck down from the sky, and the entire space was filled with sharp sonic booms. Crackling sounds of electric arcs kept ringing out. Wherever the lightning passed, the space would collapse with a loud rumble. The bright lightning carried a destructive force as it bombarded Du Xiaofu and Little Star. This momentum was terrifying to the extreme. What's going on? The creatures behind them had originally gasped for Du Xiaofu and Little Star, but they were immediately dumbfounded. They stared at Du Xiaofu and Little Star in surprise. At this moment, the two figures stood in the middle of the bright lightning attack. They did not have any intention of defending at all. The bolts of lightning that could instantly destroy an early saint beast seemed to have no effect when they struck the two of them, other than the bright arcs of electricity that overflowed. Freaks. These two people are two freaks. Everyone sucked in their breath. They're only esos. They're much easier to deal with than those strange demonic beast phantoms. Little Star raised her eyebrows. She was surrounded by electricity, but she was not damaged at all. The lightning did not seem to be able to harm her at all. Du Xiaofu smiled helplessly. Little Star, this girl, was really freakish. She seemed to have a terrifying talent in the primordial spirit. He did not see her cultivate any physical strength, but her physical body was also very freakish. As the daughter of the dragon god, she was indeed different. Fortunately, when the lightning struck Du Xiaofu's body, Du Xiaofu was not injured at all. The lightning turned into electric power and surged into his body. Although the impact was huge, it did not cause any damage to Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu had already achieved the indestructible Xian body. His physical body had been forged by the purple-gold Xian thunder. At this moment, the lightning martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body quietly moved, directly devouring the electric power that surged into his body. It can really strengthen the lightning martial vein and absorb it for my own use. The corner of Du Xiaofu's mouth lifted into a faint smile. As he had expected, the electric power could be directly absorbed by the lightning martial vein in his body. While strengthening the lightning martial vein, it could also be directly transformed into pure Xian Qi and poured into his celestial watchtower. Don't miss it. Amidst the lightning and thunder, Du Xiaofu raised his head. His black hair was scattered, and his clear eyes gradually surged with electric light. For no reason, an indescribable majesty spread out, and the lightning martial vein in his body was immediately revealed. Rumble. In an instant, a mysterious rune spread out and turned into a net of light that covered his entire body. An ancient pressure and aura caused the experts in the distance to tremble all over. They couldn't help but want to prostrate themselves. This terrifying aura made people feel as if they were facing a king that could not be resisted. A domineering, killing intent rippled through the sky. What a terrifying martial vein again! Jiang Yiting, Sun Qin, and the others' eyes darkened. Rumble. Suddenly, thunderclouds gathered in the void. There was a rumbling sound of thunder, and purple lightning wreaked havoc. An aura that caused one's soul to palpitate abruptly rippled and spread out in this space. It continued to spread into the distance, causing all living beings to feel fear. This aura was undoubtedly much more terrifying than the lightning aura from the lightning rune. This lightning aura was not because Du Xiaofu was strong, but because of the lightning aura itself. The lightning martial vein's aura was far more vast than the lightning rune space's aura. The lightning martial vein's aura was like the sovereign of lightning. The sound of thunder resounded, and the entire void trembled. The extremely shocking, killing aura fluctuated, and the purple lightning seemed to have transformed into countless spiritual snakes that shuttled through the void, causing people's hair to stand on end and their hearts to feel a chill. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like the god of thunder, able to punish all living beings in the world and kill all living beings in the world. When the lightning martial vein was activated, a huge suction force immediately spread out, rushing into the sky and devouring the lightning rune space. Rumble. Rumble. The lightning rune space above the void immediately seemed to be attracted by the suction force, and it immediately fluctuated violently, turning into a large number of terrifying purple lightning bolts that rushed out. Under the rumbling sound of thunder, a large number of dazzling lightning arcs descended from the sky. Sizzle! The dazzling lightning arcs exploded from the lightning rune space like countless bombs. They fell from the sky with destructive power, and then directly landed on Du Xiaofu's body. The dazzling lightning that could destroy everything fell on Du Xiaofu's body, but then disappeared into Du Xiaofu's body and was finally absorbed by his body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's purple lightning body, which was wrapped in the lightning martial vein, was like a bottomless pit, absorbing an endless amount of lightning power. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein surged and covered his entire body. The blazing lightning around his body was like a rising sun, greedily absorbing the mighty lightning power. As he absorbed the terrifying lightning power, Du Xiaofu's aura began to strengthen in a rather slow manner. Chapter 2409. The vast lightning rune space covered the sky. Even an early stage Saint Realm cultivator would be instantly blasted apart. However, at this moment, the terrifying lightning seemed to belong to Du Xiaofu. The terrifying lightning energy entered his body and strengthened Du Xiaofu. His aura began to rise. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Du Xiaofu had already risen into the air. His entire body was covered in lightning. His supreme aura was spreading, as if he wanted to suppress the heavens and earth. Du Xiaofu had already experienced the benefits of absorbing the power of thunder and lightning. When he saw the thunder and lightning gathering in the void, he made up his mind right from the start. Naturally, he chose to swallow and absorb it without hesitation. At this moment, it seemed to be because of the thunder martial vein. At this moment, the experts in the distance were all trembling with fear. They were dumbstruck and their gazes were trembling as they watched everything. He's absorbing the power of lightning for his own use. The experts of the Sun family trembled and their eyes turned red. Unbelievable martial vein. A few experts of the Jiang family gasped. Everyone knew that Du Xiaofu was already in the Saint Realm. However, after absorbing the lightning energy, Du Xiaofu's strength was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. This speed was too unacceptable. This was the most abnormal of the abnormal. The lightning rune space was vast and boundless. It covered the sky and the sun. It was as if the clouds in the sky were pouring down from the 9 heavens. Du Xiaofu could not absorb it. An endless stream of bright lightning was being absorbed by the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, The lightning energy was being absorbed by Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein. Du Xiaofu could clearly feel that the thunder martial vein was changing and strengthening. This lightning energy was like the nourishment of the thunder martial vein. However, it was a pity that the lightning energy could strengthen the thunder martial vein. It was the nourishment of the thunder martial vein, but the effect was not as good as the spirit thunder. Of course, Du Xiaofu didn't mind. This was already very good. Is this guy going to devour all the lightning energy? Some experts were flabbergasted. How vast was that lightning rune space? Could it be that this abnormal fellow was going to devour it all? As time passed, the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body was still absorbing the power of the lightning like a bottomless pit. Little Xingxing had already retreated to the side. Roar! A moment later, as the lightning rune space wriggled, dazzling arcs of lightning suddenly surged within the lightning rune space. As the arcs of lightning shot into the sky, the roar of a beast resounded. Suddenly, a lightning elemental beast whose entire body was covered in dazzling electric arcs and whose head was like a wolf's or a flood dragon's emerged from the sea of lightning in a terrifying manner, bringing with it a sky full of dazzling electric arcs and destructive lightning energy that shook the space. The dazzling lightning elemental beast rushed out. It was incomparably huge, and its head soared into the sky. A terrifying beast roar spread out from its hideous mouth like a thunderclap from the ninth heaven. Rumble. Just the roar of the lightning elemental beast alone was enough to cause the primordial spirit of an ordinary domain realm creature to explode. Rumble. The appearance of the lightning elemental beast caused the surrounding lightning rune arcs to suddenly explode as if countless bombs had been thrown in. Thunderous sounds resounded continuously within the lightning rune space. Electric arcs overflowed in all directions as dazzling lightning runes surged wildly. As the lightning elemental beast rushed out, Du Xiaofu's lightning elemental eyes trembled inwardly. The lightning elemental beast was at least tens of thousands of feet tall. Its eyes were filled with electric arcs, as if they contained two seas of lightning and exuded a destructive aura. Du Xiaofu inwardly raised his brows as the enormous lightning elemental beast stared intently at him. The aura of this lightning elemental beast was likely comparable to that of an advanced saint beast. He did not know how it was born. It was so terrifying. When such a lightning elemental beast stared at him with its ferocious lightning elemental eyes, Du Xiaofu felt as if two enormous lightning elemental black holes had descended and enveloped him. However, at this moment, the lightning elemental beast seemed to have sensed Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein. An instinctive fear secretly surged out from within. However, the lightning elemental beast continued to roar like a thunderclap. Its ferocious lightning elemental eyes continued to stare fiercely at Du Xiaofu. There was only madness and destruction left in its eyes. An extremely violent energy fluctuation spread out from within its enormous body. Qila, the lightning elemental beast's ferocious head rushed out and directly charged at Du Xiaofu. It opened its ferocious mouth and wanted to devour Du Xiaofu. The terrifying energy rushed over and immediately froze the surrounding void. Boom! Boom! Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu directly shattered the void with a punch and instantly collided with the lightning elemental beast's head. The lightning elemental beast was not afraid at all. It directly spewed out a dazzling destructive thunderbolt from its mouth and destroyed Du Xiaofu's punch. Its ferocious head was faster than lightning and instantly enveloped a large area. Like a giant serpent pouncing on its prey, it bit down on the space around Du Xiaofu. It's a little special. Du Xiaofu was surprised. This lightning elemental beast seemed to be a lot more special than he had imagined. However, with Du Xiaofu's current cultivation and the advantage of his lightning martial vein, he did not pay too much attention to it. His figure immediately retreated and escaped in an instant. After failing to devour the human in front of it, the lightning elemental beast's ferocious head turned around and roared again like a thunderclap. Its eyes shone with an ominous light and a look of absolute greed as it stared at Du Xiaofu. It looked like a viper pouncing on its prey, waiting for another effective attack. This guy wants to devour me too. Du Xiaofu secretly raised his eyes. From the greedy eyes of the lightning elemental beast, he could feel that it clearly wanted to devour him directly. This made Du Xiaofu smile bitterly to himself. It was also at this moment that the huge lightning elemental beast launched another attack. It lifted its head, and its huge body erupted with dazzling thunderbolts. Its head, which was like a giant serpent, charged directly at Du Xiaofu again. Du Xiaofu looked at the lightning elemental beast that launched another attack. A terrifying pressure had already solidified the vast void. Destructive and majestic lightning energy rushed towards him. Lightning runes covered the void, making one's spirit tremble. Eowao! The lightning elemental beast's roar distorted the space. The destructive lightning energy first penetrated the space and enveloped Du Xiaofu. Boom! Eowao! Du Xiaofu moved. The lightning martial vein fused with the tyrannical fist path. A terrifying pressure descended. Purple-gold lightning fluctuated, and the aura was terrifying. In an instant, under a shocking explosion of heavenly thunder, the two fiercely collided. Immediately, the rumbling sounds of heavenly thunder resounded endlessly in this vast and strange space. Rumble. The heavenly thunder resounded, and the space exploded. The sky was filled with dazzling arcs of lightning and purple-gold lightning. The terrifying energy surged in the vast sky, and lightning runes surged in the void. Eowao! The lightning elemental beast was forced back. In the terrifying collision just now, its ferocious head was not affected much. It only looked at the purple-gold runes flashing on Du Xiaofu's body. Its eyes became even more ferocious and greedy. In an instant, it charged again, pouncing towards Du Xiaofu. Evil creature. Eowao! Du Xiaofu's lightning elemental eyes darkened. With his body as the center, waves of purple-gold lightning emerged and instantly filled the surrounding space. The lightning swept across the sky like a rainstorm. Purple-silver snakes flashed in the void. A murderous aura spread out, sweeping across the area. From the lightning elemental beast's ferocious mouth, a huge bolt of dazzling lightning fiercely spewed out, sweeping towards Du Xiaofu. The dazzling lightning energy streaked across the space, and the space directly collapsed. A purple-gold lightning gathered in Du Xiaofu's palm. With an even more terrifying pressure, they fiercely collided. In an instant, the two thunderbolts collided. The lightning energy exploded, like a dazzling firework, bursting into the vast sky. Rumble! Dazzling lightning runes and purple-gold lightning overflowed. Such a collision caused the thunderous explosion to resound in the space. Everyone could see that the purple-gold lightning energy activated by Du Xiaofu was clearly stronger. However, it seemed that the lightning would definitely not be easy to deal with in the future. Immediately, the two figures fiercely collided in the resplendent lightning rune space. The lightning elemental beast was like a blazing lightning sun, shaking the sky. Du Xiaofu's figure was filled with purple-gold lightning, like a lightning god. Little Xingxing had been standing to the side, showing no intention of interfering. Among the experts who had rushed to this place, a thin and small figure was staring at the front, with a hood covering his face. Ao! After dozens of fierce clashes, the lightning elemental beast's ferocious head suddenly appeared in the sky. In its ferocious mouth, an even more dazzling and destructive lightning energy gathered to form a thunderbolt, erupting in front of Du Xiaofu. In an instant, it had already arrived in front of Du Xiaofu. It's about time. Ao! Du Xiaofu's expression was calm, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. At the same time, bursts of purple lightning had already rushed out from his body, instantly turning into a huge vortex. Rumble. In an instant, the lightning rune space violently trembled, and a purple thundercloud gathered out of thin air. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and a large amount of purple lightning hovered in the sky. Its aura was destructive, and rumbling sounds of explosions spread out, causing the surrounding space to tremble incessantly. Sizzle. A large amount of purple lightning raged, as if countless bombs were exploding in the void. At this moment, Du Xiaofu seemed to have activated the Thunderbolt Martial Vein with all his might. This was the Supreme Thunderbolt Martial Vein. The pressure that spread out from the purple thunderbolt vortex had even surpassed the spiritual thunder at this moment. An incomparably domineering aura began to seep out from Du Xiaofu's body, and purplish gold light shot out in all directions. It was as if the sun was about to rise in that lightning rune world. Resplendent purplish gold lightning radiated for tens of thousands of feet, and it was as if countless purplish gold energy ribbons were pouring down, emitting a blazing radiance. It was also at this moment that an enormous purplish gold golden-winged rock phantom flapped its wings and spiraled out from the blazing purple lightning radiance around Du Xiaofu. It soared into the sky and skyrocketed. The purple gold golden-winged rock screeched, piercing through the clouds and releasing an endless domineering aura. It spread its wings, and purple gold lightning arcs sparkled all over its body. Its ferocious aura covered the sky, as if it was going to soar into the sky, causing this ancient world to tremble. The eyes of the experts trembled violently. The supreme purple gold thunder rock's beast aura spread out, causing the lightning beast to tremble with a loud bang. It's time to end this. The purple gold thunder rock flapped its wings and swept out. It was able to distort space. Its entire body was covered with densely packed purple gold lightning arcs. Finally, it gathered into many enormous purple gold thunderbolts that scattered while the space was being distorted. A mighty, overbearing, and intimidating pressure swept out. Finally, it heavily landed on the lightning beast. Ayo! The lightning beast roared, shocking the 9 heavens, and lightning runes shone resplendently. The purple gold rock's lightning arcs exploded, and the lightning arcs wreaked havoc in the vast sky. It was like a purple gold sun in the sky, and a claw mark tore apart space, vast and mighty. The purple gold thunder rock flapped its wings. Although it was just a phantom, it carried the supreme beast aura and domineering will of the real golden-winged rock, and in addition to the lightning martial vein, it suppressed the world. Gee! The purple gold rock screeched, and its lightning eyes were like 2 purple gold suns. Its huge body flapped its wings, covering heaven and earth as if it had a life of its own. Its supreme aura was inextinguishable, and its battle intent soared to the heavens, suppressing the ancient era. All the creatures trembled. This was a true supreme being, looking down on the world, showing disdain for the past and present. Space was exploding, and the light was so bright that it was hard to open one's eyes. Under the terrifying power, many of the experts in the surroundings had already collapsed to the ground. Amidst the resplendent electric arcs and the purple lightning vortex, Du Xiaofu's figure traversed space and appeared. He stepped on the ferocious head of the strange lightning beast. His fist, which was covered with lightning martial veins, was like a purple gold lightning ball as it landed heavily. The purple gold lightning was filled with punishment, and its aura was like that of a supreme being of lightning. Rumble! Rumble! Under Du Xiaofu's fist, the lightning beast wailed miserably, and its eyes surged with shock. Then, it directly cracked, and a destructive and violent energy spread out, turning into a dazzling lightning rune that swept out like a tsunami. In an instant, the purple lightning vortex around Du Xiaofu directly swallowed the lightning from the lightning beast. The dazzling lightning wave was very powerful and violent, but after falling into the purple lightning vortex, it was directly swallowed and absorbed, causing the vast lightning rune space to ripple, as if it had turned into a dazzling pool of lightning. Crash! At this moment, the lightning rune space that covered the sky seemed to be invisibly drawn by some invisible force, and crazily surged towards the lightning vortex around Du Xiaofu. The violent and destructive lightning disappeared as soon as it came into contact with the lightning vortex around Du Xiaofu, and immediately disappeared into Du Xiaofu's body. Rumble! The void trembled violently, and it was so deafening that it hurt and made one's mind dizzy. Countless dazzling lightning bolts flashed, and the huge lightning bolts converged into lightning bolts that danced wildly, sweeping towards Du Xiaofu from all directions. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body was like a bottomless pit, and he was not affected at all by the lightning bolts that flashed through the sky. Oh my God! All the experts present were dumbfounded. It was visible to the naked eye that the lightning-ruined space that covered the sky was weakening and shrinking. Although it was still erupting with dazzling lightning bolts that covered the sky, it was clearly weakening. Du Xiaofu's body gradually started to swell up. He fully activated his thunder martial vein. It was like countless purple spirit snakes were shuttling through the air. The purple thunder vortex continued to devour the berserk lightning energy of the thunder talisman space. Rumble. Rumble. The purple whirlpool devoured the thunder power contained in those spell symbols. Large amounts of purple thunderbolts spread out from the whirlpool, and a loud rumbling noise could be heard coming from the air. The strongest power of execution was released from the whirlpool, spreading across the sky. An ancient aura spread out from Du Xiaofu's body, and the aura that made one's primordial spirit palpitate continued to spread into the distance of this vast and strange space. In the end, Du Xiaofu was wrapped in dazzling purple lightning bolts and lightning runes. Gradually, he was wrapped in dazzling lightning runes, and gradually, he looked like a huge lightning ball in the void. While all the creatures were shocked, the lightning rune space that covered the sky in front of them was gradually swallowed up. However, a thunder sun appeared in the void in front of them, and it was dazzling and gradually shrinking. In the end, under everyone's gaze, the dazzling lightning disappeared, and Du Xiaofu's figure appeared, standing quietly with his eyes closed. Not long after, Du Xiaofu's eyes, which were surging with lightning, were like two bright suns shining in the sky. Sizzle, sizzle. Two beams of lightning shot up into the sky from Du Xiaofu's eyes. Finally, they shot into the void, bringing with them purple lightning. It was as if countless bombs were exploding at the same time, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt, their minds to become dizzy, and their hearts to tremble in fear. He must have benefited greatly. Sizzle, Sun Kuei, Sun Qin, Jiang Yiting, and the others all looked up and trembled. They couldn't help but exclaim in shock. At that moment, that frightening young man was actually, before the eyes of the crowd, using such a tyrannical and valiant method to directly devour the power of lightning to strengthen himself while everyone was trembling in fear. All of this had happened at the Saint Realm. No matter how talented a Saint Realm expert was, it would be difficult for them to make any substantial progress even after thousands of years of cultivation. But now, that purple-robed youth had improved so easily. Many experts were shocked, including Sun Kuei and the other saints. They were all a little dejected from the blow. This was simply too much for them to live. I wonder what level this kid has reached and how much progress he has made. Sun Kuei was very surprised. At this moment, that guy seemed to be deliberately hiding his aura, so he couldn't sense it. However, he was sure that in just a short while, he had devoured all the lightning energy in that terrifying lightning rune space. That kid's progress was definitely not simple. Du Xiaofu restrained himself at this moment. Only Du Xiaofu himself knew that swallowing the power of thunder and lightning in this space had brought him enormous benefits. However, a lot of it had been consumed in the thunder martial vein. Moreover, he had also seized the opportunity to plunder a lot of spiritual thunder from his primordial spirit in his mud pill palace. Therefore, he had made some progress in his cultivation. However, his cultivation had already entered the late stage of the Sage Realm at this moment. So, he needed a vast amount of energy to make a breakthrough. This space of thunder and lightning was enormous. However, he was still far away from the peak of the late stage of the Sage Realm. "Father, this is the entrance." "Little star." Little Xingxing's voice came. As the lightning space disappeared, a huge stone door appeared in front of them. Behind the stone door was a deep abyss, as if one couldn't see the end of it. The lightning in Du Xiaofu's eyes disappeared, and he stared at the huge and towering stone door. It was so huge that it made people speechless. A desolate and ancient aura spread out, making people feel as if there was a monstrous, ferocious beast behind this huge stone door. It made people not dare to cross it. "Father, it's not simple." Little Xingxing's small eyes moved. The aura inside made her somewhat fearful. "Be careful. Don't be careless." Du Xiaofu said softly. Whoosh, whoosh. A fluctuation came from behind. Several figures had already jumped over. As the lightning rune space was devoured by Du Xiaofu, those experts were no longer afraid and came over one after another. Du Xiaofu looked back and frowned slightly. After devouring the lightning rune space, he had unknowingly solved a big problem for everyone. Escape. However, now was not the time. After getting the treasure, everything could be dealt with. As those experts approached, their gazes fell on the huge stone door. The desolate and ancient aura made them feel uneasy. The lightning power has been destroyed. We can go in and look for the treasure. Seeing that the lightning rune space had been destroyed, everyone's profound energy surged out and instantly rushed over. Father, we should go in too. Little Xingxing came to Du Xiaofu's side. Seeing that someone had already gone in, she became somewhat anxious. Let's go. As his voice fell, a golden, profound energy light flashed under Du Xiaofu's feet, and he immediately jumped into the stone door. The space inside the stone door was not small. Many figures appeared in front of him, and they all rushed forward. Du Xiaofu did not want to fall behind. He rushed forward, and in almost the blink of an eye, he rushed through the stone door. Then, he slowed down a little. The stone door was not very long, and he just jumped out of the stone door a few times. What a big move. Wow. When he rushed out of the door, Du Xiaofu looked at the scene in front of him in amazement. It was an astonishingly huge palace, towering and magnificent. However, at this moment, in front of this huge palace, it was impossible to see the whole picture of this huge palace. No one knew how big this huge palace was, but it was not difficult to estimate that the vast area in front of him was just the tip of the iceberg. There were already creatures in front of him, and they looked around in amazement. Around the huge palace, there were many corridors, and they did not know where they extended to. There were many passages on both sides, and at this moment, there were already many experts who had rushed in, and they began to rush into those corridors and passages. One after another, they entered one room after another. It's a martial technique, an ancient martial technique. God. Oh my God. Is this an immemorial sacred artifact? Wow. Immemorial elixir. This is a great opportunity. Suddenly, many people rushed out of the rooms in the huge palace. Some lucky experts had already found the treasure. Chapter 24:10. Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing also disappeared from their original spot, entering a few rooms to search. However, they did not find anything useful. To others, these gains might be considered a huge opportunity, but to Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing, they were just ordinary. The Qianquan bag left behind by Tianwu Academy appeared in Du Xiaofu's hand once again. It emitted a bright light, as if it was being pulled by something. Follow me. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved. He looked around, and then his figure flashed forward. Whoosh! In the huge palace, a figure landed. The figure was small and skinny, wearing a hood. Faint lightning flickered around his body, creating ripples. However, his aura was hidden very deeply. Archaic martial techniques are not bad. However, this shouldn't be the extent of it. Experts who spent so much money should have great treasures. The skinny figure put away the harvest in front of him. With such a large amount of resources, this place was definitely not as simple as it seemed. There must be great treasures. Also, that kid seems to have improved a lot. It must be related to that treasure. The skinny figure's eyes darkened. Lightning flickered and he searched the palace, but he did not find anything else. Whoosh whoosh, 3 people barged in. When they saw the skinny old man, they seemed to feel uneasy. They immediately wanted to leave, not wanting to provoke him. Humph, still want to run? It's too late. The old man's voice was cold and indifferent like thunder. When his voice sounded, his body had already arrived beside the 3 intruders. Lightning rippled around his body. Within the distorted space, he waved his hands and 2 lightning claws landed on the bodies of the 2 intruders. Boom, 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 boom. Under the lightning claws, electric arcs swept out and the surrounding space exploded. The 2 people did not even have the chance to escape, nor did they have the chance to attack. They were directly turned into fragments, a bloody mist splattering on the ground. Bang! The 3rd figure also exploded, blown up by the lightning. Then, the old man skillfully kept a few Qianquan bags. At this moment, in the aftermath of the lightning, the old man looked to his side. Suddenly, for some unknown reason, the space beside the old man suddenly fluctuated, revealing mysterious runes of talismans, and a misty aura fluctuated. A hidden space. The old man seemed to have discovered something. Then, he revealed a look of joy. He hesitated for a moment before jumping into the ripples. It was as if he had jumped into water. In an instant, his figure disappeared. The ripples in space were still shaking. Just as the skinny old man leaped into the spatial ripple, two figures, one big and one small, arrived in an instant. They were Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. Du Xiaofu was still holding onto Tianwu Academy's Cosmos sack. The mysterious runes on the surface of the Cosmos sack rippled, and at this moment, a spatial ripple appeared in front of him, following which, the light from the spatial ripple dimmed. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered as he stared at the strange spatial ripples. The misty qi was very familiar, but the spatial ripples were slowly dissipating. Du Xiaofu's expression changed as he said, "This is a separate dimension. Let's go in quickly. Hurry." After saying that, Du Xiaofu leaped into the spatial ripples. From the reaction of the Cosmos sack, this separate dimension seemed to be related to Tianwu Academy. Little Xingxing's eyes flickered as he leaped into the spatial ripples as well. After little Xingxing's figure disappeared, the spatial ripples also calmed down. There were no longer any traces of fluctuations, as though nothing had existed in the first place. The spatial ripples were enveloped by the power of space. In just a few blinks of an eye, a misty gray glow of mysterious runes appeared. Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing appeared in a misty space. This space was vast, and a desolate and misty aura permeated this space. There was no ground in this space, only a vast void. What a familiar aura! Little Xingxing's eyes widened. The moment he entered this space, he felt a familiar aura. It is indeed very familiar. Could it be? Du Xiaofu also felt the aura, and his expression changed. At the same time, Du Xiaofu suddenly felt a sharp gaze directed at him. Following the gaze, Du Xiaofu saw a thin and small figure in the space ahead. This person was dressed in a long robe with a hood covering his face, concealing his aura. Du Xiaofu remembered this figure. When he killed Jizhan and devoured the lightning energy in the lightning rune space, this person had appeared. It was also because of this person that he had to hide his strength when he killed Jizhan and dealt with the lightning beasts in the lightning rune space, afraid that he would scare this person away. At this moment, this figure's gaze was focused on Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. With a sweep of his gaze, a smile appeared on his face. He was wondering how to deal with this brat, but who would have thought that this brat would deliver himself to his doorstep? This separate dimension was the best place to make a move. This time, this brat would not be able to escape. "Father, that guy seems to be harboring ill intentions towards us." Little Xingxing also saw the figure. His gaze slightly moved, and he transmitted his voice to Du Xiaofu's ears. He felt that the guy in front of him seemed to be harboring ill intentions. Acquaintances. Haha. Looking at the malicious gaze of the figure in front of him, Du Xiaofu's lips also curled into a smile. He was really looking forward to it. "Brat. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road." The thin and small figure spoke, looking at Du Xiaofu with a smile in his voice. "I think it's just fate. Why are you hiding, Lei Yong?" Du Xiaofu said. This person had concealed himself, but he could not escape from Du Xiaofu's prying eyes. He had long known that it was Lei Yong. Hearing this, the thin and small figure was slightly taken aback, as if he did not expect to be recognized by this brat even though he had concealed himself so deeply. "Ha ha ha ha." There was a cold laugh, and the voice was somewhat gloomy. A thin and withered old man appeared in front of Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. His face seemed to be only skin and bones, and there was no flesh on his face. He had a few strands of white goatee that swayed with the wind. A pair of deep eyes flashed with lightning, causing one's Yuan spirit to burn for no reason, as if it was about to be destroyed. Who else could it be other than Lei Yong? As Lei Yong appeared, the surrounding space froze. His voice was like thunder, and it was extremely inconsistent with his thin and withered body. He said, "Brat, you won't be able to escape today." A late Saint Beast is actually so arrogant? Little Xingxing frowned and curiously sized up Lei Yang. Looking at little Xingxing's gaze, Lei Yang suddenly felt a little puzzled. The little guy's gaze was too strange, and it made him feel an indescribable uneasiness. Du Xiaofu also smiled slightly. Today, the situation was different from the last time. Moreover, he had not used his primordial spirit meridian body last time, although Lei Yang had not used his real body last time. However, at this moment, even if he had the 7 saint puppets, Du Xiaofu was not afraid of Lei Yang. His strength had reached the late saint realm, and he had improved again not long ago. In addition to little Xingxing, Du Xiaofu was very clear that Lei Yang would not be able to laugh in a while. Little Xingxing, don't interfere later. Don't let others say that we bullied him. Du Xiaofu said to little Xingxing in a serious manner. All right. Little Xingxing pouted and nodded. Hearing Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing's words, Lei Yang's gaze was even more stunned and full of doubts. Since your cultivation is not easy, I will give you 2 choices. First, join the desolate country and follow me. Second, I will beat you up and forcibly take you as my follower. Looking at Lei Yang, Du Xiaofu said, Kid, are you joking again? Have you forgotten how you escaped last time? Boom. Lei Yang's voice was like thunder, shaking the void. Although this kid seemed to have improved a lot, the last time this kid ran away in a panic. Even if this kid had improved a lot recently, could it be that he was a match for Lei Yang? You have to think about it carefully. I suggest you choose the first choice.
Yes.
Du Xiaofu looked at Lei Yang and said seriously. However, the Xian Qi in his body was surging in his meridians at this moment. His eyes were filled with anticipation. He was not the same as before. He also wanted to test it out. Ha 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 ha. Lei Yang was stunned. Then, a smile appeared on his shriveled and bloodless wretched face. He laughed endlessly as if he had seen the funniest thing. Kid, this time you will definitely not be able to escape. When the laughter stopped, Lei Yang's lightning-like eyes fluctuated a little. However, it soon disappeared. His bloodless, wretched face finally began to change color. Slowly, a gloomy expression appeared. Lightning flashed from his lightning-like eyes, giving people a heart-palpitating destructive aura. At the same time, a majestic energy storm exploded from his body in an incomparably destructive manner. Rumble. In an instant, lightning flashed and thunder roared in the void. The wind rose and the clouds surged. Electric arcs blazed and brought along the rumbling sound of thunder as they whistled and surged. This is your own choice.
Yes.
Feeling the aura caused by Lei Yang, Du Xiaofu was not afraid at all. He had been anticipating this for too long. His heart was filled with excitement. He licked his lips and did not back down. His battle intent surged. Finally, he could test it out again. Kid, you are arrogant. Roar. At the same time as the thunderous roar, Lei Yang could no longer bear it. A human who had been defeated by him actually dared to be so arrogant in front of him. The aura of thunder and lightning surged crazily, turning into a vortex. It was like a thunder and lightning tornado was sweeping out. A bolt of lightning with a dazzling light directly rushed towards Du Xiaofu. Lei Yang knew Du Xiaofu's strength. Therefore, he did not test his strength. He attacked with his full strength. Wherever the lightning bolt passed, the void collapsed silently. Electric arcs wreaked havoc and the aura was destructive. In an instant, it had already swept through the void and arrived in front of Du Xiaofu. The void where it passed was destroyed into nothingness. The power of the lightning was even more terrifying, as if it wanted to destroy one's soul. Du Xiaofu was already familiar with Lei Yang's means. In the face of such an attack, his expression was very indifferent. Just as the lightning bolt pierced through the void and arrived in front of him, golden light burst out from his body. An overbearing aura swept through the air. The aura of the late stage, Saint Realm swept out without reservation. It climbed to the peak. The golden light was like a blazing sun, and the aura of a beast clan sovereign descended. He shook his arm, and with a sweep of his long sleeve, an earth-shattering golden light swept out. An overbearing aura suddenly swept out from his body like a storm. The Fuyao heaven-shaking wings shone with golden light and swept across the area in front of him. It destroyed the lightning in the most overbearing manner in the void, turning it into shattered lightning. Amidst the undulating waves of golden light, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in front of Lei Yong at a speed faster than lightning. Suddenly, lightning surged in his eyes, sharp and frightening. His hand seals changed, and golden light enveloped the surroundings. An overbearing and fierce aura suddenly swept out. With a shake of his arm, a fist wrapped in golden light directly blasted out. The speed was too fast. Lei Yong seemed to be unable to recover his senses. However, in his shock, he quickly reacted. A vast and mighty lightning pressure spread out. In an instant, it was like a lightning storm spiraling as a fist also collided with the other party. Rumble. When the two fists collided, the void exploded. It was as if the sky was collapsing. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. Golden light overflowed. Terrifying rune ripples swept across the void like a tsunami. The invisible, overbearing aura shook the space, and the space rippled endlessly. It was as if there was endless thunder roaring between heaven and earth. Qila Lei Yong was blasted back. He was directly blasted back dozens of feet in the void before he stabilized his body. There were drops of bright red blood dripping from his fist, emitting bright electric arcs. Late stage of Sage Realm. How can this be? Lei Yang's deep eyes couldn't remain calm anymore. A look of shock appeared on his face. At this moment, he felt the aura of the late stage of Sage Realm. That brat had reached the late stage of Sage Realm. He had deliberately concealed his cultivation in the lightning rune space when he had dealt with Jizhan. Otherwise, Jizhan wouldn't have been able to withstand a single blow. He tricked me. He tricked me into taking the bait. Lei Yong finally understood at this moment that Du Xiaofu had revealed his reaction a moment ago. This brat had been luring him into taking the bait. His progress is too terrifying. Could it be that he has comprehended that half of the mysterious bone? Lei Yong was shocked. Lei Yong was secretly shocked. That brat was only at the intermediate stage of Sage Realm the last time he had attacked Lei Yong, and he had fled in distress in front of Lei Yong. However, this brat had reached the late stage of Sage Realm in such a short period of time. Fei Yu's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds after he had obtained that half of the mysterious bone, and this human had reached the intermediate stage of Sage Realm from the initial stage of Sage Realm after obtaining that half of the mysterious bone. Then, he had reached the late stage of Sage Realm in such a short period of time. How terrifying! It had taken him several thousand years to reach the intermediate stage of Sage Beast Realm from the initial stage of Sage Beast Realm. And it had taken him several thousand years to reach the late stage of Sage Realm from the intermediate stage of Sage Realm. However, this human had made another breakthrough in such a short period of time. Precious treasure. That half of the mysterious bone is absolutely a precious treasure. It's a heaven-shaking precious treasure. Amidst his shock and horror, Lei Yong was even more certain that that half of the secret bone was an absolute treasure. He linked everything to that half of the secret bone. It must be that half of the secret bone that allowed this human to break through so quickly. Human, have you really comprehended that half of the mysterious bone? Lei Yong looked at Du Xiaofu. There was a look of expectation on his face. Use your true body. I'll tell you if you can defeat me. Du Xiaofu looked at Lei Yong. There was a trace of a smile in his eyes. The fighting strength of the late stage of Sage Realm wasn't something that the intermediate stage of Sage Realm could compare with. Lei Yong looked at Du Xiaofu with a gloomy expression. He didn't dare to be careless anymore. Boy, it's not over yet. Do you think that you can defeat me just because you've reached the late stage of Sage Realm? Lei Yong shouted. Then, the mighty aura of thunder and lightning rushed out of his body. It was as if a sea of thunder had exploded. It whistled with the sound of thunder and lightning. A terrifying aura of thunder and lightning soared into the sky. Then, his body expanded and transformed into a huge body of 1,000 feet. This was Lei Yang's true body. He had 2 horns that were filled with electric arcs. His entire body was dazzling. His body was covered with scales that looked like an armor of thunder and lightning. His eyes seemed to have transformed into 2 thunderballs. A thunder and lightning storm accompanied by mysterious runes erupted with him as the center. Boom! Boom! Above the vast and boundless void, lightning flashed and thunder roared. The rumbling sound made one's divine soul tremble. Du Xiaofu didn't move. He allowed the terrifying thunder and lightning storm to sweep over him. His body was like a boulder. His black hair danced in the wind as he stared at Lei Yang. This guy is really strong. It's no wonder that the ancestors of the big clans of the Beast Alliance and the Human Clan have to give him some face. Phew. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. Golden light fluctuated in his eyes. Mysterious runes flickered as if two golden-winged rocks were about to fly out. Boom, boom. The space trembled. At the same time, a terrifying and domineering aura gushed out from Du Xiaofu's body. He didn't hold back the aura of the late-stage sage realm. His eyes were filled with battle intent. At this moment, Du Xiaofu didn't even activate his green armor. He wanted to see how strong his body was. Boom, boom. Mysterious runes of thunder and lightning climbed up Lei Yang's body, emitting a dazzling light. Finally, his body seemed to be wrapped in a ball of thunder and lightning. His aura distorted the void. Even if you've stepped into the late-stage sage realm, I'll still suppress you. Boom. Lei Yang's voice came from the huge thunder and lightning. Mysterious runes filled the sky as if a giant thunder and lightning beast was walking through the sky. Carrying the monstrous power of thunder and lightning, it shook the void and distorted it. It was approaching Du Xiaofu. The void rumbled and the sky was filled with electric arcs. Being afraid of you isn't enough. Boom. Du Xiaofu's battle intent surged. His voice was like thunder and golden light soared into the sky. Qi La, the thunder goat, took to the air, and under its huge body, a violent power of thunder and lightning swept out. A fierce and huge palm print of thunder and lightning stretched out from the void, slamming directly at Du Xiaofu's head. Under the palm print, cracks spilled out from the void, fluctuating with thunder and lightning, destroying everything. Boom, boom. The void rumbled, and at the same time, Du Xiaofu's hand imprints rapidly condensed as a surge of majestic aura akin to a peerless beast soared up into the sky. The chaos-crushing talons of the great rock rapidly condensed and directly blasted out towards the lightning palm imprint, exuding an incomparably tyrannical aura. The void in front of the claw exploded as if it was about to collapse. When it collided with the claw, the void cracked. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, and pitch-black spatial cracks spread out. Rumble. The terrifying rune ripples were like a tsunami, sweeping across the void, causing the space to shake violently. The invisible and domineering aura shook the space, causing the space to ripple endlessly. It was as if thunder was rumbling between the heavens and the earth. Chilala. Lei Yang's huge body staggered back. The void under his feet quietly collapsed. His eyes were like a sea of thunder and lightning. Rumble, thunder and lightning swept across the sky, and a terrifying aura swept out without reservation. Lei Yang was already clear that if he didn't go through a fierce battle today, he was afraid that he would really capsize in a ditch. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Lightning arcs wreaked havoc, and thunderclouds covered the vast void. At this moment, Lei Yang no longer held back. A terrifying aura whizzed out with his body as the center, turning into a sea of thunder. Lightning flashed and thunder roared endlessly, causing people's hearts to tremble and their primordial spirits to burn. To be able to make me hold nothing back? Human, continue. Lei Yang shouted. Blazing lightning runes swept out from his body like a volcanic eruption. His huge body was blazing like the sun, and he roared as he pounced towards Du Xiaofu. Come. Golden light flashed behind him as the rock's golden wings spread out. Du Xiaofu didn't retreat, but moved forward. His 5 fingers slightly bent, and the surrounding void solidified. Waves of profound energy spread out from his hand, along with a special starlight rune. The aura in the sky surged, and it almost distorted the space. In the end, it intertwined with each other, and in an instant, it condensed into a handprint that was several feet in size. The moment the handprint appeared, the surrounding space trembled. Waves of mystical aura spread out from Du Xiaofu's body. Brilliant star seal. Bang! Du Xiaofu made his move. With a shake of his arm, he instantly slapped out a hand seal. Dazzling talisman runes gushed out. It was as if countless stars were emitting their light. They carried a kind of vast aura that covered the sky and covered the earth. This handprint devoured light, and even the lightning energy around Lei Yang's body could be directly devoured. The surrounding void seemed to have suddenly fallen into a curtain of night. The violent energy affected the space and devoured light. This handprint was the ultimate technique of the Yin-Yang school. It was like an endless starry sky had descended, penetrating through time and space. Its pressure was unparalleled, and it suppressed the vast sky. At this moment, the sky full of stars rotated, and the sky exploded. The void collapsed inch by inch. The explosion was like thunder. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, and runes surged. Fight! Golden light burst out, and a pair of golden-winged rock wings appeared in the void. Du Xiaofu appeared in front of Lei Yang's huge body. He spread his wings, and his aura was monstrous. The golden-winged rock was connected to Du Xiaofu's flesh and bones. A terrifying aura surged, shaking the void. This was also Du Xiaofu's combat strength. Star-shattering fist. Bang! Heavenly horse violent palm. Sky-shaking wings. Bang! Profound yellow emperor's seal. In an instant, Du Xiaofu seemed to have turned into a real golden-winged rock. He spread his wings and soared into the sky. A series of attacks hit Lei Yang's body like a torrential rain. Roar! Lei Yang erupted, roaring like thunder. It resisted with all its strength. Its eyes were filled with fear. It now knew how much strength this kid had hidden when he killed Jizhan from the Ji family. Chapter 24:11. Rumble. In the void, they constantly collided and exploded. Du Xiaofu and Lei Yang instantly launched a series of attacks. At this moment, Du Xiaofu activated the golden-winged rock ability. He felt that he was the real golden-winged rock, soaring in the sky. He could control the supreme power and release endless domineering pressure. Roar! Roar! Lei Yang shrieked. Lightning runes covered the sky and earth. Ferocious power surged. Whether it was his physical body or his attack power, they were both extremely terrifying. At this moment, he was also going all out. In the same level of cultivation, Lei Yang's combat power was absolutely terrifying. It could be compared to the big clans in the Beast Alliance. At the same level of cultivation, Lei Yang would not be at a disadvantage when fighting against the experts of the Sky Flame Phoenix clan. Lei Yang's body was born with the profound meaning of thunder and lightning. That was a terrifying bloodline left behind from ancient times. But at this moment, Lei Yang met Du Xiaofu. At the same level of cultivation, when had Du Xiaofu ever lost to anyone? At this moment, Lei Yang did not even know that if Du Xiaofu was really only focused on winning and did not want to take the opportunity to prove himself, there would be no need to fight like this. The profound meaning of the 8 trigrams, the talisman array, the primordial spirit vein spirit, the lightning martial vein, and various other trump cards. If Du Xiaofu used them, he would have finished off Lei Yang long ago. Going all out in this battle against Lei Yang, Du Xiaofu's physical body went all out. Fist to fist, colliding with each other. Vigorous power surged in Du Xiaofu's body. Every move of his could shatter the void. It was incomparably carefree and domineering. Fight! Du Xiaofu became more and more courageous as he fought. From time to time, he would roar loudly. Bang, bang, bang. The void continued to rumble. Lei Yang, on the other hand, was in a miserable state. His body became dimmer and dimmer as he was sent flying. He began to vomit blood. The space behind him was destroyed and collapsed. That kind of terrifying impact was a visual impact only when one saw it with their own eyes. Rock's chaos-crushing claw. Du Xiaofu swooped down as the true rock spread its wings and bent its 5 fingers. Golden talisman patterns flickered on its fingertips as if it wanted to tear the space apart. Energy ripples visible to the naked eye spread out from the claws. Du Xiaofu's aura was like that of a peerless, ferocious beast under the great rock's chaos-crushing claw. The dazzling talisman inscriptions in front of the claw imprint were like golden lightning that wreaked havoc. It was as if a golden-winged great rock was about to spread its wings and soar into the 9 heavens. A tyrannical and terrifying aura erupted. Under the terrifying golden claw, the sovereign's aura descended, causing the thunder goat's eyes to be filled with terror. Golden light erupted from the great rock's chaos-crushing claw. It was as if countless golden lightning snakes were flying out. With an incomparably domineering posture, it viciously grabbed at Lei Yang. Poochie, Lei Yang was sent flying. Its body was in a mess. The lightning on its body was dim, and the scales on its huge body were cracked beyond recognition. They were dim and had completely lost their luster. Its flesh was also bleeding. Du Xiaofu floated in the void. The rock's golden wings spread out behind his back. His aura was domineering, and it seemed that he was getting braver as he fought. Lei Yang was completely stunned. Its fierce eyes were lifeless, and its body was trembling involuntarily. Lei Yang was completely shocked. At this time, it knew that it was unable to fight back. Run! Lei Yang immediately fled. It did not dare to stay any longer. Humph! Humph! At this moment, a childish snort came from above the void. A small figure appeared in front of Lei Yang like a ghost. This figure was very small and looked to be around 10 years old. Her red skirt fluttered slightly and was surrounded by star patterns. On her chubby face, there was a faint golden brilliance in the depths of her bewitching eyes, revealing the overbearing aura of a sovereign. Roar! Lei Yang roared angrily. It did not dare to stop. It could not defeat that kid. Why should it be afraid of this little girl? Suddenly, its huge hoof slammed down with lightning wreaking havoc. Io, are you looking for a beating? Little Star. Little Star attacked. His small fist was like jade but covered in golden flames. Immediately, it collided with the huge hoof covered in lightning. Rumble. Suddenly, the small fist exploded with the power of a sovereign. The golden flames were like the sovereign of flames. They condensed into golden flame runes, causing the void to distort. The terrifying energy was like several volcanoes exploding at the same time. The destructive energy was enough to destroy all living things. It also had the aura of a sovereign of beasts. Puff! Lei Yang's humongous body flew backwards at this moment. Fresh blood dripped from its huge hooves, and it was directly crushed. There was also a charred smell from the high temperature. Large mouthfuls of blood poured out from its mouth, while its eyes trembled violently, as if it had seen a ghost. Only Lei Yang knew how terrifying that punch was. It contained a terrifying aura that could make its beast soul crawl. It had never seen such a terrifying aura before. At this moment, Little Star did not move at all. Lei Yang's lightning power seemed to have no effect on her. Late sacred beast realm. After that punch, Lei Yang finally understood why Du Xiaofu did not let this little girl interfere in the beginning. It turned out that this little girl had also reached the late sacred beast realm. Big trouble. Lei Yang broke down. He recalled the rumor of blood-malevolent patriarch fleeing in a sorry state. He did not believe it at first. But now, how could it be fake? However, Lei Yang did not even have time to break down. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared again. The golden runes behind him surged like a tide. It was like a human-shaped rock flapping its wings and soaring to the sky. Lei Yang wanted to continue to escape, but before his figure could move, Du Xiaofu's figure had already landed. His 5 fingers turned into a claw print that distorted the void. He grabbed the hoof that had just been shattered by Little Star with lightning speed and fiercely swung it down. At this moment, Lei Yang's 1,000-feet body involuntarily flipped in the air and was violently flung away. Du Xiaofu's figure followed like a shadow. The mysterious rune wings on his back flapped. Light filled the air. Before Lei Yang could stabilize his body, he appeared in an instant. Rock descends to the 9th heaven. Suppress. Suppress. Golden light bloomed around Du Xiaofu's body. The wings on his back flapped fiercely, carrying the domineering will of the golden-winged rock clan. It was as if a giant rock had descended. It flapped its wings and swept across. It was overbearing and fierce. It was as if it was the only supreme existence, suppressing everything. Roar! Du Xiaofu suppressed. Lei Yang roared. Thunder clouds rolled around him. It was as if thunder was rumbling in the air. But no matter how hard Lei Yang struggled, he could not escape. He was getting weaker and weaker. It's time to end this. Du Xiaofu's figure landed on the ground, and his hand seals continued to condense. With a wave of his hand, a supreme pressure spread out from his palm, accompanied by flashes of lightning and roars of thunder, and silver-yellow electric arcs suddenly erupted. Roar! Roar! The roar of a dragon, tiger, phoenix, and lion came from Du Xiaofu's palm. A terrifying aura erupted, causing the surrounding space to rumble and tremble. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's right palm was covered with a mysterious seal, and the shadow of a golden-winged rock appeared. It was dazzling with golden light, and it carried silver-yellow electric arcs. A monstrous pressure spread out from it. When this monstrous pressure descended, it contained a pressure that all beasts could not resist. This pressure came from the souls of all beasts. It came from their bloodline. Lei Yang was horrified. The phantom of the golden-winged rock, accompanied by silver-yellow electric arcs, descended. The beast's soul in his mind trembled. It was completely suppressed. Blood soul seal. Blood soul seal. Du Xiaofu's hand seal fell. With the roar of a dragon, a phoenix, a lion, and a tiger, it landed directly in between the eyebrows of the stunned Lei Yang. The strange golden hand seal turned into a ball of golden light along with the supreme pressure of all beasts and disappeared in between the eyebrows of Lei Yang. In the next moment, Du Xiaofu closed his eyes. Hand seals formed in his hands. Runes lingered around his body. As the hand seals formed, rays of extremely strange and mystical light with a terrifying supreme pressure landed in between the eyebrows of Lei Yang. At this moment, Lei Yang was completely suppressed. His pair of enormous, ferocious eyes that contained a thunderous black color involuntarily shut. You want to control me? Impossible. 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 At this moment, the beast soul of the thunder goat was roaring in its mind. It had sensed Du Xiaofu's intention and was resisting with all its strength. It was an expert of the late stage of the Saint Beast realm. How could it be controlled so easily? It was born with the profound meaning of thunder and lightning. Its beast soul was absolutely not something that anyone could approach and do anything to. Du Xiaofu didn't say anything. Dazzling golden light erupted, and the handprint of the golden-winged rock appeared in Lei Yang's mind. Lightning arcs raged in his primordial spirit, and a monstrous supreme pressure swept out, directly imprisoning Lei Yang's beast soul. The beast soul struggled violently. Lei Yang found that it was completely suppressed. It wanted to escape, but it was unable to escape no matter how hard it tried. Beast control technique? Yes. In the void, Du Xiaofu's final hand seal formed. A dazzling golden light entered between Lei Yang's eyebrows. Roar. In the Lei Yang's mind, the roar of a dragon and a tiger, as well as the roar of a phoenix and a lion, reverberated. A huge pressure spread out, and the golden rock image turned into a bright golden light, instantly entering the Lei Yang's beast soul. Lei Yang's resisting beast soul gradually began to be tamed. In the outside world, Du Xiaofu exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. It was not an easy task to set up a blood soul in Lei Yang's mind. Fortunately, he had made some progress after devouring a large amount of thunder and lightning energy. Otherwise, it would be more troublesome. Defeating and setting up a beast control technique were two completely different concepts. Not long after, Lei Yang's closed eyes opened. Its huge body also turned into a skinny and wretched human form. It looked at Du Xiaofu. The murderous glint in its eyes had disappeared, and it became extremely docile. Its huge body stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, master." "Yes." 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 Du Xiaofu nodded. Under the beast control technique, Lei Yang had already submitted. A late-stage holy beast, unless it was necessary, there was no deep hatred. Du Xiaofu did not want to kill it. If he could bring it out, it would be an absolutely powerful expert. It would have been better if you did this earlier. Why did you have to be beaten up? Little Xingxing pouted and rolled its eyes at Lei Yang. Be careful, this place is very abnormal. And at this moment, Du Xiaofu didn't retract his golden rock wings. His countenance stiffened as he stared at his surroundings. In this space, he could sense an extremely familiar aura. From the moment he entered this strange space, he had already sensed it. The surroundings were hazy, and an ancient aura slowly spread out from the void. The ancient aura was vast and boundless, making people feel awe from the depths of their soul unconsciously. "Be careful," Du Xiaofu suddenly shouted. At the same time, before Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the surrounding space suddenly trembled and began to emit multicolored light. It was like the blooming of a comet in the void. The surroundings were dazzling, as if the sky was covered with divine light. Then, amidst the multicolored light, many spatial ripples flickered. There were runes flickering on them. In the continuous space, the spatial ripples swayed slightly, dazzling and illusory. Chi-la-la, the void was constantly distorted. At the same time, Du Xiaofu watched little Xingxing and Lei Yang disappear in the distorted void. There was nothing he could do. The surrounding void was fluctuating, as if the space was isolated. Time and space were fluctuating. Roar! Roar! In the next instant, a vast space appeared in the distorted space in front of him. A huge demonic beast roared as it came out. Bang! Bang! Du Xiaofu directly made his move. Golden light erupted as he swung his arm, destroying the demonic beast that pounced out. However, after the demonic beast was destroyed, there was no blood mist. Instead, it turned into dazzling runes that filled the sky and dissipated. The void in front of Du Xiaofu changed again. Du Xiaofu looked around. It was a vast mountain range, and the surrounding space fluctuated strangely. Roar! While Du Xiaofu was still sizing up the surroundings, another red dragon soared into the sky. Its aura was huge, and it was at the early stage of the Saint Beast realm. Boom! Roar! Du Xiaofu was not worried about such a dragon. The golden wings on his back flapped, and his figure swept out. He waved his hand, and a faint golden light flickered. His 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and suddenly, a fist rushed out and landed on the dragon's ferocious head, shattering it into runes that filled the sky and dissipating. When the runes that filled the sky dissipated, Du Xiaofu's figure also disappeared in mid-air. His vision blurred, and when Du Xiaofu looked at the void in front of him, he was already above a sea. A rumbling sound echoed in the void, and the sea was surging with raging waves. Roar! A huge dragon rushed out of the sea, roaring in the sky. Its aura was much stronger than the previous dragon. Swish! Without any hesitation, he waved his hand. Golden light flashed, and the rock's chaos-crushing claw slashed out. It tore through the void, and the dragon was crushed in the void. In the next moment, the surrounding space fluctuated. When Du Xiaofu reappeared, he was already in a mountain range. A huge stone man blocked in front of him. Runes spread out, and it looked at Du Xiaofu like an elephant looking at an ant. Its huge hand clenched into a fist, and like a meteor streaking across the sky, it directly attacked Du Xiaofu. Break! Break! Du Xiaofu shouted, and his body was wrapped in a faint golden light. He raised his arm and punched out. Boom! Boom! The fist was wrapped in golden light, and it emitted an endless dazzling light. The domineering aura was like a volcanic eruption. Du Xiaofu didn't dodge, and his fist collided with the huge, meteor-like fist. Rumble! Boom! When the two fists collided, energy exploded in mid-air, as if it was going to shatter the space. The dazzling runes collapsed, and the momentum was shocking. Then, the huge stone man was destroyed inch by inch, and Du Xiaofu's fist easily destroyed it, turning it into runes that filled the sky and dissipated. However, the scene in front of Du Xiaofu was still changing. In the vast void, a huge demon eagle flapped its wings and flew across the sky, and a vast aura surged. That vast aura was at least at the peak of the middle stage of the holy beast realm. It flapped its wings, and its sharp claws tore through the sky, as if it was going to tear the space apart. Destroy! Destroy! Du Xiaofu flapped his wings and stood there motionlessly, staring at the demonic eagle's claw that was tearing through the sky. There was no fear in his eyes. In an instant, the rock soared through the 9 heavens. Under the heaven-shaking wings, the demonic eagle was directly smashed into pieces. But this time, the scene in front of Du Xiaofu didn't change. Just as the demon eagle's runes collapsed, 2 ferocious birds swooped down from the sky, roaring ferociously. They flapped their wings and covered the sky, and wanted to tear Du Xiaofu to pieces. Du Xiaofu was fearless. He stepped into the void, and his fists were like two dragons emerging from the sea. In front of his fists, mysterious golden runes lingered, and he easily shattered the two huge birds again. Finally, the scene before Du Xiaofu's eyes changed again. It was as if there was a light screen flashing in front of him. When the scene before Du Xiaofu's eyes became clear again, a large amount of terrifying attack power accompanied by a frightening aura swept over under the resplendent energy runes. Rumble accompanied by those terrifying attacks. It was as if the heaven and earth were rioting. An ancient flood dragon roared, a huge ape pounced, and a vicious bird spread its wings and screeched. The sound waves were able to attack the primordial spirit. The terrifying might was enough to not be besieged by more than 10-peak late-stage Saint Beasts. Under such an attack, even a late-stage Saint Beast would have to dodge directly. These demonic beasts seemed to have crossed through time and space to appear here. Some of them were like living creatures. Their terrifying strength was too shocking, and those terrifying means were even more realistic than the real thing. Rumble in an instant, the void boiled, and resplendent runes appeared. Du Xiaofu's expression changed, and he didn't dare to be careless. He directly activated the Cyan Spirit Armor, and in the midst of the golden light, he attacked with all his strength. The astral energy on his body, the beast energy of the purple flame demonic phoenix, and the golden rock transformed into resplendent rays of light that swept out. Peng soars to the ninth heaven. Boom! Profound yellow emperor's seal. Du Xiaofu continued to attack, causing the void to surge. The energy was like a destructive force that swept out in all directions, and a large area of space was destroyed. These demonic beasts were very strong, but they weren't able to cause any real harm to Du Xiaofu. In the end, they were shattered by Du Xiaofu, but they had exhausted a lot of Du Xiaofu's energy, and he didn't dare to be careless. Roar! When Du Xiaofu appeared on a vast plain, a terrifying energy accompanied by a roar swept out, and a monstrous blazing flame swept out. Under the monstrous aura, Du Xiaofu's expression changed, and he quickly retreated. Du Xiaofu looked straight ahead and saw a sea of blazing flames that blotted out the sky. It was like a sea of fire. The sea of fire seemed to be shrinking, and the entire vast and boundless space of flames also slowly disappeared. The terrifying flames all disappeared, and finally, a giant turtle that wasn't too big, only about 1,000 feet in size, but its aura was incomparably terrifying, appeared. Chapter 24:12. What kind of demonic beast is this? Even Du Xiaofu was alarmed by the fiery light that blotted out the sky. The eyes of the giant fiery tortoise that had been tightly shut all this time suddenly opened as the fiery flames around its body slowly disappeared. Resplendent flames flickered in its giant lantern-like eyes, like a sea of fire. As its mouth opened slightly, a deep dragon roar sounded from its throat, like thunder. An astonishing pressure spread out, causing the strange space to tremble continuously. This huge, ferocious giant tortoise was actually only 100 feet in size. It was much smaller than the other demonic beasts. Its entire body was scarlet red, and even its entire body was covered with scarlet scales that were like flames, tightly wrapping its entire body within. The giant tortoise's scarlet scales were also covered in uneven white stripes. The white stripes were narrow, as if lava was flowing within them. Sharp sword teeth, sharp claws, and a long fiery tail could be vaguely seen in its bloody basin-like mouth, making it look exceptionally ferocious and strange. There was an enormous and terrifying aura around it, comparable to that of a true dragon or a true phoenix. Ao! The ferocious scarlet flame giant tortoise stared at Du Xiaofu, causing the temperature in the air to rise sharply. Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled as he finally recognized it. This was the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise that had disappeared long ago. From its aura, it was comparable to that of a true dragon or a true phoenix, and its current aura was not below that of the blood-malevolent patriarch. Immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. Du Xiaoshu's heart trembled. It was said that the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise had two powerful innate abilities. The first was the blazing power of fire. Its attacks could carry a monstrous heat that was enough to incinerate one's yuan spirit. The second innate ability was its physical body. It was said that the physical body of the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise was not inferior to that of the great golden-winged Peng clan. Hugh, such a powerful immemorial demonic beast had long since gone extinct. To think that there would still be one in this place made Du Xiaofu's eyes tremble inwardly. Although this was only an illusory figure in this strange place, it would be a great opportunity if he could comprehend its beast energy. The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise stared at Du Xiaofu, but did not immediately launch an attack. An aura that carried some scarlet flames was once again spat out from its mouth. As its entire body trembled, a feeling of boundless power immediately surged out. Du Xiaofu's eyes were locked onto the giant, immemorial heavenly flame tortoise's body. Its scales seemed to be covered by scarlet flames. An extremely dangerous aura seemed to penetrate into his mind, and a high-temperature release was slowly spreading it of the heat of the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. Du Xiaofu's expression changed. If the primordial spirit in his mind was ordinary and didn't have any special abilities, he would be in big trouble. Seemingly sensing that Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit was not affected by its aura, the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise's expression changed slightly. Ao! Ao! In an instant, the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise's roar rang out, following which, the pressure on its body grew increasingly dense. Its giant, ominous eyes carried a trace of frightening flames, while high-temperature magma splashed out from the surface of its scarlet scales. Roar! With a dragon-like roar, the giant, immemorial heavenly flame tortoise pounced over under Du Xiaofu's grave gaze. Its astonishing aura pressured the air. At this moment, even with Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, he could not help but find it difficult to breathe, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Big trouble. Ao! Du Xiaofu furrowed his brows. Although this demonic beast was an illusory figure, it seemed real. Moreover, its attack power was real, and its might was not below that of Patriarch Blood Mane. The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise's speed had also reached the limit. Although its giant front claws seemed somewhat clumsy, they were still able to tear through space and descend. The blazing magma on its scales violently churned as a claw shot out from its front limbs. Take the beast. Ao! Du Xiaofu's eyes faintly flickered as earth-shattering profound energy burst out from his body, drawing in the boundless energy of heaven and earth. Behind him, a fist instantly collided with the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise's claw. Golden light erupted from the fist, accompanied by the long cry of a divine elephant. The instant the two forces collided, 5 spatial cracks were torn open in the giant tortoise's claw. Space rippled, and under an astonishing sonic boom, space directly exploded. Du Xiaofu's figure was instantly blown back. Chi. Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled, somewhat in disbelief. He did not hold back just now, but was actually blown back. Fortunately, he had the green spirit armor and the immortal Shin body, so there was not much of a problem. However, his fist was also tingling with numbness. Ao! Ao! The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise was also blown back, but immediately after, its huge body violently shot up, suddenly leaping out once again. Its right claw suddenly clawed at the space in front of it, and under this claw, the space in front of it suddenly exploded. The huge claw brought along a monstrous flame rune as it tore through the space. The flame rune was like a sea of fire, carrying an astonishing pressure. In a flash, it once again appeared above Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. The golden wings of the great Peng flapped, and he also instantly soared into the sky. The wings of the great Peng flapped out, and the palm of his hand was like a palm leaf fan. Everywhere it passed, layers of mysterious golden runes overlapped. The domineering and fierce aura was like a volcanic eruption, and the aura of the great Peng on his body surged. Boom! Ao! The muffled sound of energy made the runes dazzle. At the same time that such a terrifying force shattered the sea of fire, Du Xiaofu's fist once again struck the claw. Bang, bang, bang. Boom. An astonishing amount of energy exploded in the sky. Sparks flew everywhere, and golden light surged. It was like the most gorgeous fireworks. However, under such magnificence, there was a destructive power hidden, and the space collapsed inch by inch. Stomp, stomp, in the air. A monstrous force swept out, and Du Xiaofu was once again blown back a little. The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise also did not seem to have gained much of an advantage. Too strong. Boom. The blood and qi within Du Xiaofu's body surged. If not for the immortal Xin body and the green spirit armor, he would definitely be in trouble. Ao. Ao. The ancient heavenly flame turtle seemed to have received some sort of pressure. At this moment, the ancient heavenly flame turtle began to roar unceasingly. Raging flames surged and whistled as a frightening hot pressure descended. An unusual phenomenon of lightning flashing and rolling thunder seemed to have surged within a pair of fiery sea-like fierce eyes. It was as though the entire space had been shot into those enormous fierce eyes. Instantly, it opened its ferocious large mouth and a cluster of enormous hot fire-light pillars shot out. Crackle, crackle. When the pillar of light shot out, it instantly split into two in the air. Like numerous blazing fire dragons, it tore through space and charged towards Du Xiaofu in a densely packed manner. Every single pillar of fire was able to directly shatter space. Did I give you face? Boom. Seeing the countless flames rushing over, Du Xiaofu's brows raised. With a wave of his hand, a terrifying purple flame swept out from his body, as if it had transformed into a huge purple flame demonic phoenix that spread its wings. Goo! Goo! The purple flame demonic phoenix roared, as an astonishing blazing aura suddenly spread out, as if it could destroy everything. Streak after streak of blazing purple flame aura, as if they had transformed into purple flame waves, swept over the blazing pillars of light. Boom, 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 boom. A series of sonic booms sounded, as if a volcano had exploded. Rumble. Boom. Under such terrifying might, a blazing claw instantly tore through space and arrived in front of Du Xiaofu. Peng descends to the 9 heavens. Suppress. Boom. Du Xiaofu's golden Peng wings spread out behind him, and the Peng soared to the 9 heavens. Golden light erupted like a sun, and a sharp screech resounded. Amidst the golden light, mysterious runes erupted, as if there was a golden-winged Peng phantom flapping its wings and soaring up. Crackle, crackle. The blazing claw blasted down, and in the next instant, it collided with the mysterious runes of the golden light. Countless dazzling golden light and blazing flame runes burst out from the storm. Boom, boom, boom. Above the space, there were continuous explosions. As the aura swept out, Du Xiaofu was once again pushed back. Under the terrifying blazing attack, his body also felt a burning sensation. The blazing flames were different, as they could actually penetrate his cyan spirit armor and integrate into his body. Fortunately, the cyan spirit armor and the immortal Xin body were not to be trifled with. Although the terrifying blazing aura made his body feel extremely uncomfortable, there was no trace of injury. Crackle, crackle. The ancient heavenly flame tortoise was also forced back. However, it did not seem to be affected by the illusory figure. It once again opened its huge mouth and a magma-like blazing light pillar shot out from its mouth with a ripping sound. It shot out at a speed close to light speed. In a flash, it once again enveloped Du Xiaofu. Such a terrifying fiery attack caused Du Xiaofu's golden pupils to contract slightly. This kind of speed was also very difficult to dodge. Immediately, boundless profound energy rapidly fluctuated within his body, following which, the great rock's chaos-shattering claw directly tore through the void to meet the attack. Boom, boom. Aolo. Thunderous sonic booms and dragon-like roars reverberated in this strange space, deafening everyone's ears. The surrounding space was also directly torn apart in this violent collision, and then restored, only to be shattered again. A terrifying force swept out, shaking the void until it directly cracked. The space fluctuated, and the energy storm whistled. After dozens of such moves, Du Xiaofu still could not gain any advantage. Roar. The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise roared, and claw after claw fell, each claw tearing through space. Du Xiaofu also used his full strength, and each force shattered the space, and an astonishing sonic boom immediately rang out. Oh, oh! The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise roared, and at the same time, its speed was incomparably fast. Its attack surged, and a spatial crack spread out. Du Xiaofu's body was directly sent flying. With the support of the indestructible Xin body and the green spirit armor, and the body that was refined by the golden-winged Great Peng clan, he could not help but vomit blood at this moment. It's definitely comparable to the blood mane. Aoo! Du Xiaofu's eyes revealed that kind of color. He had already used his full strength, but still could not do anything to this immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. The strength of this immemorial heavenly flame tortoise was definitely not much weaker than the blood mane patriarch. Boom! Aoo! In just an instant, the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise rapidly attacked Du Xiaofu again. With every movement, blazing heat overflowed the sky, shattering the void. Did I really give you face? Wiping a trace of blood from the corner of his mouth, Du Xiaofu was also angry. In an instant, he formed a hand seal, and a strange pattern appeared in the void, enveloping the void. This was a void 8 trigrams diagram. With Du Xiaofu as the center, the void 8 trigrams diagram swept out like a divine ring, filled with resplendent light, and surged with all kinds of strange phenomena. There was the evolution of mountains and lakes, the alternation of wind and rain, the change of the sun, moon, and stars, the movement of mountains and rivers. The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise roared and jumped, but no matter how much strength it used, it could not break free from the void 8 trigrams diagram. A vast power could directly bind and affect it. Bright destruction of earthly fire. Boom! A voice came from the void, and the void suddenly changed. Suddenly, lightning and stars descended, and raging flames descended. Heaven and earth resonated, and a vast and mighty power, in the sea of resplendent runes, formed a stormy sea, and directly engulfed the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. Rumble. Boom. Activating the 8 trigrams diagram, strange phenomena filled the sky. Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein and golden-winged rock fused into a purple-gold thunder rock, spreading its wings and shaking, and once again engaged in a fierce battle with the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. Ao, ao! The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise roared again and again. Although it was absolutely affected by Du Xiaofu's void 8 trigrams diagram, its terrifying strength made it difficult for Du Xiaofu to completely suppress it with the 8 trigrams diagram. Although it was clearly affected, it was not something that Du Xiaofu could truly suppress. Ao! Boom! Boom! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and the wind rose and clouds surged. Du Xiaofu cooperated with the void 8 trigrams diagram, and also activated his lightning martial vein, and finally gained the upper hand. Boom, boom, boom. Muffled sounds constantly came from the void 8 trigrams diagram, and there were beast roars like thunder. The aftermath of the terrifying power that swept out had long collapsed and submerged the surroundings. Boom, boom. Du Xiaofu constantly attacked. Purple flames surged, and runes bloomed. The 8 trigrams profound contained all of Du Xiaofu's methods. The golden-winged rock's phantom and the lightning martial vein were both activated, and fought against the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise's phantom. The void boiled, runes were resplendent, and strange phenomena appeared in the sky. Lightning interweaved, and all kinds of terrifying methods filled the sky. Du Xiaofu fought, and the 8 trigrams diagram displayed its might. Energy swept out, and the void spread like waves. But the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise roared, and activated all kinds of terrifying methods, blocking all of Du Xiaofu's attacks. This battle was very terrifying. Du Xiaofu was using all of his strength. Golden light shone from his back, and the golden rock wings spread out, stabilizing his retreat. Golden splendor fluctuated, and at the same time, he activated the rock descends to the 9th heaven. It was as if a real golden-winged rock had descended, and it carried the domineering will of the golden-winged rock clan. The void rumbled, and a series of dazzling runes burst forth in the air. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and the energy was as gorgeous as golden fireworks, causing the entire sky to be resplendent. Gorgeous runes poured down, but what they contained was an absolutely terrifying destructive power. Gee! The rock's cry pierced through the clouds and cracked rocks. Above the 8 trigrams diagram, a huge purple-gold thunder rock swept out from Du Xiaofu's back. A mighty and domineering pressure swept out, and its huge body covered more than half of the space. "Ku!" the purple-gold rock cried, and its voice seemed to penetrate the space. Its entire body was covered in dense purple-gold lightning arcs, and as they rapidly twisted, they finally converged into a huge purple-gold thunderbolt. The huge purple-gold thunderbolt destroyed the surrounding flames and finally heavily landed on the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise's body. This kind of earth-shattering purple-gold thunderbolt descended, causing the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise to finally tremble. "Oh!" The immemorial heavenly flame tortoise roared, and thunder resounded. Its ferocious head was like a giant python flying dragon, and in an instant, it spat out magma-like blazing runes towards the purple-gold thunder rock like lightning. Chila, the pair of sharp claws under the purple-gold rock's abdomen, also instantly erupted with purple-gold lightning arcs. The lightning arcs wreaked havoc in the sky, and the lightning was like a purple-gold sun in the sky. A claw tore through the space and directly tore the ferocious head of the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise to shreds. The other claw of the purple-gold rock heavily swooped down and landed on the back of the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. Chi-la-la, as the terrifying claw landed, the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise, which was filled with blazing and monstrous destructive energy, was only in a stalemate for a moment before the flame-like scales on its back began to crack. In the next instant, waves of intense electric ripples also appeared on the back of the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. Boom! Boom! At this moment, Du Xiaofu's figure swooped down. His fist, which was covered with thunder martial veins, seemed to carry a purple-gold thunderball as it heavily landed on the cracked back of the giant tortoise. The purple-gold thunderbolt was filled with killing intent, and its aura was like that of a thunder sovereign. Rumble! Boom! Under Du Xiaofu's punch, the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise finally cracked. Crash! The destructive and violent energy spread out, transforming into a stretch of resplendent lightning runes that swept out like a tidal wave. It's finally broken. Du Xiaofu's face was deathly pale, and his Saiyan spirit armor was also riddled with wounds. He was in an extremely sorry state. Other than the vain spirit, he had used all his strength to barely defeat the immemorial heavenly flame tortoise. That kind of terrifying strength made Du Xiaofu feel that it was not much weaker than the blood main ancestor. Chilal! Chilal! Before Du Xiaofu's voice could fade away, a dense array of flags swept out from the air, spreading out astonishing fluctuations. In an instant, they appeared in the void around Du Xiaofu. Rumble! Chilal! When the dense array flags disappeared in an instant, a violent wind howled in the sky, and the space became chaotic. Runes spread out in the air, and the surrounding void fluctuated violently. Suddenly, the space trembled, and a terrifying array passed through the boundless void, enveloping Du Xiaofu within it. When the array appeared, it covered the sky and covered the sun. The violent energy was like the most terrifying tornado, sweeping across the world. Its power was enough to make one's heart tremble. Saint Spirit Array. A wry smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's face. Such a charm array was enough to trap an expert at the peak of the late stage of the Sage Realm. The 3 continents Kyushu was a vast and boundless sea. The sky and water were the same color, as if they were connected to the horizon. Above the vast sea, a spatial crack appeared in the depths of the void, and a vast and ancient aura came out from it. It was unknown when, but in the depths of the vast sea, many powerful auras and phantoms had appeared, as if they were anxiously waiting for something. In the huge crack in the depths of the void, a vast ancient land became clearer and clearer, as if a part of the world was completely falling. Chapter 24:13. The restriction is getting weaker and weaker. Is it going to completely open? Wole Laozu's figure appeared in a corner of the void. Looking ahead, his eyes covered with crimson-blue flames and lightning. Rumble. The world trembled, the tides rose, and the heavens and earth roared. That world seemed to have descended from the 9 heavens, completely descending into this world. Suddenly, the heavens fell and the earth cracked, the sea and the sky rolled in reverse, and the universe was turned upside down. The islands and reefs in the sea trembled, and the crack in the void expanded rapidly. It was as if the entrance to a new world had been opened. Then, the new world was like a lake tilting into the sea, forcibly appearing in this world. Rumble. At this moment, the entire world was also affected. Within the domain of the 3 continents Kyushu, the earth and mountains shook, and the sun and moon lost their light. Everything seemed to have returned to an extremely ancient era. It was as if in that void where the sun and moon did not shine, there were many ferocious beasts chanting. The divine sound was deafening, and mysterious runes overflowed from the void endlessly. There was no living creature who was not shocked. In the new world that had fallen, there was a vast ancient land. Light shone, runes were resplendent, and white mist was faintly discernible. It was like the aura of a celestial being, and there were bursts of sounds of worship. Walala. At this moment, the entire world was filled with surging energy of heaven and earth. The white mist rippled, and the divine sound was heard. The restriction has disappeared, and the ancient, desolate, ominous grounds have completely appeared. In the depths of the void, many old figures seem to have been waiting for a long time, and they directly soared into the sky. In the silent and distorted space, within the enormous symbol array that covered the sky and covered the entire space, a terrifying energy fluctuated after an unknown amount of time. Faintly, there seemed to be golden rays of light that were about to burst out, and the symbol array began to tremble, on the verge of collapse. Rumble. Boom. Then, the rune formation directly exploded, and violent energy swept through the sky, causing the entire void to tremble violently. It was as if the heavens and earth were collapsing, the sky was shattering, and countless runes were collapsing. The momentum was terrifying. Qi. Qi. In the shattered void, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. He exhaled slightly, but his expression was incomparably solemn. In this strange place, Du Xiaofu felt that he had probably stayed for no less than 2 years. Fortunately, it was only a huge illusory formation. Although it had consumed a lot of his time, he still managed to break out of it. After such a long time, he had recovered most of the energy he had previously, and his understanding of the formation in Heavenly Spirit Book had also become much more detailed. Of the formation, 2 years. He did not know whether the entire ancient, desolate, ominous grounds had closed or not. If it was closed, the outside, and what the outside had had it, and if it did not, then he did not know what the outside world. If it was down in the world. If it did not, the outside, what the outside was in the ins Leominus's ominous Lucas's too. Wang, down, is it really? Du Xiaofu frowned. Over the past 2 years, he had become increasingly aware of one thing. Everything in this strange space was exactly the same as what he was experiencing. Boom, boom. As the talisman array shattered, the entire space trembled violently. It was as if there was a dazzling light fluctuation in the sky. The talisman runes were dazzling, and a vast and mighty pressure spread out, wanting to make people submit to it. There seemed to be a passage in the light that led to another void. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved. After a slight hesitation, his figure suddenly passed through the light curtain of runes, and a void appeared in front of him. Hula. From time to time, the sound of talisman runes could be heard coming from the void. As the ancient talisman runes fluctuated, a figure slowly appeared. He was surrounded by a faint light, and there were talisman runes flashing densely around him. As this person appeared, he was invisibly connected with the surrounding void. It was as if the energy of heaven and earth in this space was surging and gathering. As the runes in front of him fluctuated and flickered, his aura was like a vast ocean, rising and falling like the tide, intimidating this space. At this moment, the aura in the space also became ancient and boundless. The surrounding light and mist were faintly discernible, and the surroundings were blurred. Du Xiaofu's eyes also focused on this person. From the depths of his divine soul, he trembled fiercely. At the same time, the desolate ancient space in Du Xiaofu's Niwen palace began to tremble, as if it was being pulled by the strongest force, and the desolate ancient space was about to break out of his body. Du Xiaofu's eyes immediately fixed on the figure in the void, and his eyes trembled fiercely. I really didn't expect that there would be such a harvest. You delivered yourself to me. The figure seemed to be middle-aged, and the illusory figure seemed real. His eyes were deep, flashing with uncertain light, as if he could see through Du Xiaofu at a glance. Who? Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. At this time, it seemed that everything was as he had suspected, and he calmed down. This is the desolate ancient space. You should be the soul of this space, right? Young Master Du asked. From the moment he entered this strange space, he already had his suspicions. Everything in here was more and more similar to the battle realm in the Tianwu Talisman realm, which was also the desolate ancient space. At this moment, when he felt the illusory figure appear, the desolate ancient space in his mind fluctuated, and his primordial spirit also trembled. That kind of invisible force made Du Xiaofu immediately feel that this strange space was the soul of the desolate ancient space, and it was the other desolate ancient space. Aren't you the same? We finally meet, but I didn't expect you to be a human. However, it doesn't matter. To me, once I obtain your primordial spirit, I will be able to recover completely. At that time, I won't have to stay in this place anymore. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. You really are. Du Xiaofu's eyes widened. No wonder the Chinku and Pouch in Tianwu Academy had a reaction. It turned out that there was another desolate ancient space inside. When Du Xiaofu obtained the desolate ancient space, he learned everything from the soul of space. The Tianwu Talisman realm in Tianwu Academy was actually called the desolate ancient space. The soul of space back then was similar to the weapon spirit. During the great calamity of the world, countless experts fell, and countless ancient life forms were killed. The desolate ancient space in Du Xiaofu's body only occupied an extremely small portion of the desolate ancient space. It was far from being comparable to the desolate ancient space at its peak. The soul of space had been supporting the operation of the Tianwu Talisman realm for countless years. Under constant consumption, it eventually dissipated. Only then did it choose Du Xiaofu and allow Du Xiaofu to fuse with the soul of desolate ancient space. Du Xiaofu still remembered what the soul of space said. If he wanted to truly control the desolate ancient space, he had to find another desolate ancient space. Only by obtaining another desolate ancient space would he be able to unleash the true power of the desolate ancient space. At that time, he would be able to become one of the strongest experts in the world. However, the space spirit also reminded him that even if he could find another desolate space one day, he had to pay attention to that half of the desolate space because that half of the desolate space was much larger than the desolate space he had obtained. Although the space spirit was the real desolate space spirit, with the function of the desolate space, it was enough to breed a new space spirit. When the space spirit was strong enough, it would definitely come looking for him. Otherwise, his great Tao would not be complete, and he would not be able to reach the strongest level. His strength would be far from enough to face the space spirit. At this moment, looking at the figure, Du Xiaofu knew that everything was as he had feared. The other half of the desolate ancient space had really given birth to a new soul of space, and it wanted to devour him. Du Xiaofu was very clear that after fusing with the desolate ancient space, from a certain perspective, he had become the soul of space. However, the soul of space in front of him would definitely not let him go. Why are you here? Du Xiaofu asked. Back then, the soul of space said that the desolate ancient space had been destroyed during the great calamity of the world, and this desolate ancient desolate ominous ground was the place where the great calamity of the dragon and phoenix occurred. Could it be that Tianwu Academy had existed long before the great calamity of the devil? One had to know that this desolate ancient space belonged to the headmaster of Tianwu Academy. Now that the desolate ancient space was here, it was unknown if the headmaster of Tianwu Academy was still alive. I was originally here, but today, I can finally leave. The heavens are really helping me. The middle-aged man smiled as he looked at Du Xiaofu. Within his deep eyes, there seemed to be some astonishment. However, I never would have imagined that a puny human would actually be able to reach this point, to be able to charge right up to me. Haha, it won't be easy for you to devour me. Du Xiaofu's gaze turned grave. After all, this was the other half of the desolate ancient space. Everything was under the other party's control. Haha, although you're not weak, don't forget that this is my space. Haha. The middle-aged man smiled. As he smiled, the space around him trembled. His deep eyes emitted a cold light as his aura condensed in the air. Rays of light began to descend. It was extraordinary. Qi-la, in an instant, the rays of light transformed into a dozen or so illusory ferocious beasts. Their auras fluctuated as they soared into the sky. Their bodies rippled with sun-like rays as their terrifying auras erupted. The auras of these ferocious beasts were extremely powerful. Their eyes were cold as they surged with killing intent. They directly pounced on Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's gaze instantly turned cold. This was a method of the desolate ancient space and was not unfamiliar to him. Within this desolate ancient space, everything was under the control of the desolate ancient space. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The ferocious beasts attacked at the same time, bringing with them a terrifying aura that gushed out like a tidal wave. Wave after wave of attack light shot out in all directions, engulfing the entire space like waves of energy. They were absolutely tyrannical and unparalleled, crushing the sky. Buzz, buzz. At the same time, wind and thunder rumbled in front of Du Xiaofu. The great Pong golden-winged cyan spirit armor was directly activated. Golden light burst out from his eyes as the heaven-shaking wings flapped. The resplendent golden runes were like thousands of golden swords as they slashed out. Chapter 24:14. Qi-la-la-gi. In an instant, it was as if countless densely packed golden sword rays were connected to heaven and earth. Their aura was as vast as the sea, turning into waves that swept forward. This was not a wave, but a wave formed by the interweaving of terrifying golden light. Qi-la-la-gi. In an instant, it was as if countless densely packed golden sword rays were connected to heaven and earth. Their aura was as vast as the sea, turning into waves that swept forward. This was not a wave, but a wave formed by the interweaving of terrifying golden light. The resplendent golden light covered the sky, drowning out everything. Qi-la-la, Qi-la-la. The waves of attacks were shattered into pieces by the terrifying waves of sword light. Roar, 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 roar. At the same time, the auras of the dozen or so huge beasts also erupted, whistling through the sky and destroying everything in their path. Du Xiaofu focused his eyes and flapped his wings. Golden light swept out from his hands, and the golden-winged rock behind him activated. He stepped out with the wave-like carefree steps, and his wings swept across the sky. The terrifying golden light swept down, and the ferocious beasts were reduced to runes almost instantly. Qi-la-la. At the same time, the middle-aged space soul's body was wrapped in a hazy curtain of light. A palm print exploded from his hand, and with a mysterious and terrifying palm print, it directly slapped towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. Suddenly, lightning surged in his eyes, sharp and frightening. His hand seals changed, and golden light enveloped the surroundings. A domineering and fierce aura suddenly swept out. He shook his arm, and a fist wrapped in golden light directly blasted out. Domineering fist. Qi-la. The golden fist collided with the palm print, and an astonishing amount of energy swept out. You have some skills, but not enough. Qi-la. With ghostly speed, the middle-aged space soul appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. Cold light shot out of his eyes, and a vigorous primordial spirit soul power swept out, overwhelming and crushing towards Du Xiaofu. Primordial spirit attack. Qi-la. Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled at the level of the soul origin spirit attack, but he wasn't surprised. This was the soul of space, so it was naturally best at soul origin spirit attacks. It could also control all the methods in this ancient, desolate space. The terrifying Yuan spirit soul attack was all-pervasive. Du Xiaofu immediately felt as though he had been dragged into a vortex of soul waves. Du Xiaofu felt as though his mind was being pricked by needles. The soul attack of the primordial spirit had invaded his Niwen palace and was about to attack his primordial spirit. The primordial spirit soul attack of the space spirit was actually so terrifying. Du Xiaofu's aura began to wane, and Jin Guang's eyes began to glaze over. This strange space was very strange at the moment. It seemed to be suppressing everything. Caught off guard by this strange soul attack, Du Xiaofu seemed to be unable to stop it. Let it be over. The middle-aged soul master sneered at the already glazed Du Xiaofu. He didn't hide his killing intent. His figure flashed out, and without any delay, a palm print directly fell on the top of Du Xiaofu's head. As the soul of space in this ancient desolate space, he could use all kinds of beasts, cultivation methods, and martial skills in this ancient desolate space. This was the most terrifying part of this ancient desolate space. Chi. Suddenly, just as the middle-aged soul of space appeared in front of Du Xiaofu, Jin Guang's glazed eyes suddenly surged with golden light again. He waved his hand, and a stream of light gushed out. Runes burst out, and with a vast and fierce aura, it directly rushed towards the soul of space. Oh whoa! Oh whoa! There was a sharp roar like the cry of ghosts and the howl of gods. As the runes burst out, 7 awe-inspiring figures rushed out. These 7 awe-inspiring figures were all red in color. Mysterious runes lingered around their bodies, and there was a metallic texture to their bodies. Their bodies were rough, but they were no different from real people. With the appearance of these 7 puppets, a monstrous and fierce aura was released from their bodies. Waves of monstrous, spiritual thunder suddenly spread out from these 7 puppets and turned into an invisible aura that violently rushed into the sky. These were the 7 saint puppets. With the appearance of the 7 saint puppets, the blazing aura around each of their bodies soared. The mysterious runes on their bodies shone brightly, and the crimson light of the runes on their bodies seemed to have turned into solid flames. Rumble. Suddenly, the mysterious and complex runes on the 7 puppets soared into the sky. Then, in the air, the runes connected with each other like a spider web, enveloping the entire space. The runes covered the entire ancient, desolate space, and the entire space was suddenly covered by a blazing sea of fire. Walala! Walala! The blazing and monstrous runes connected and enveloped the surrounding space. At the same time, the aura of the 7 puppets suddenly soared, and in an instant, they drove a majestic energy of heaven and earth. A claw print tore through the space. Vaguely, a pitch-black spatial crack appeared under the claw print. There was even a crimson flame lingering around the claw print, and it suddenly pressed toward the middle-aged soul of space. This claw print was accompanied by a strong, murderous aura, which swept out like a storm and spread out in all directions. The middle-aged soul of space's expression changed. Under the blazing aura, the aftermath of the energy swept out, and it seemed to be somewhat affected and blocked the energy ribbon. Not weak puppets. Walala. The space spirit was surprised. It formed hand seals in its hand. When the last hand seal was formed, the world around it began to tremble. Walala. Mysterious runes began to appear in the sky, and a vast and terrible suppressive force descended out of thin air. This is my space. Puppets are useless. Walala. At this moment, the middle-aged soul of space was connected to the space and communicated with the energy of heaven and earth in the void. In an instant, the space fluctuated, and the 7 saint puppets disappeared from the space. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's soul power was completely resisted by the Yuan spirit's spiritual thunder in his mind, and his eyes surged with a golden color again. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. The Yuan spirit connection of the 7 saint puppets was still there, but it was isolated by the soul of space to another space. Boom, boom. The middle-aged soul of space pressed down again, and a palm print fell. It stirred up the energy of heaven and earth, and the misty spatial fluctuations swept out like a raging sea. The former's palm flashed with a bright light of mysterious runes, and there was a dull sound of space around the palm print. The pressure was like a wave, and it was as if the void was sinking. The middle-aged soul of space wanted to kill Du Xiaofu here. This was his space, and under his suppression, there was no way this kid could resist. This was the desolate ancient space, and he was the soul of space. In his own space, he was the overlord, the most powerful existence, and he could control everything. As the palm print fell, the misty space shattered, and Du Xiaofu's body was smashed into pieces. With a ripple of energy, he disappeared into the surrounding void. However, as Du Xiaofu's body was smashed into pieces, not a single drop of blood flowed out. The middle-aged soul of space looked a little confused. Everything in front of him was impossible. How could that kid disappear for no reason? This was his space. In just an instant, the middle-aged soul of space seemed to have felt something. He suddenly turned around, and behind him, he saw Du Xiaofu, who had just disappeared, reappear. His body was covered with golden runes, and a terrifying aura spread out from his body. It was like the roar of thunder, and the surging aura shook the void. At the same time, Du Xiaofu raised his head and roared. His voice was like a dragon's roar, and it was like a divine elephant trumpeting. The sound waves swept out like a tsunami, surging in all directions and causing the surrounding world to tremble. Ow, 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 ow. At this moment, the entire void was roaring, and countless roars echoed in the sky. The sound waves were also extremely domineering, like a series of thunderclaps. The void was about to collapse, and it made people tremble in fear. Boom, boom. The surging sound waves, accompanied by the ripples of energy from the golden runes, spread out like a raging ocean. The sound waves swept out, and the middle-aged soul of space was also shocked. He was affected and quickly retreated. The space in front of him rippled, and it was unexpectedly able to isolate the sound waves. Everything you do will be useless. Boom. As he stabilized his body, the space in front of him fluctuated strangely again. The middle-aged soul of space's eyes darkened, and he shouted coldly. Then, he turned into an afterimage, shuttling through the space like a flower, and swept toward Du Xiaofu like lightning. A ray of light gushed out from his palm, turning into a claw that distorted the void, and instantly crushed toward Du Xiaofu. Roar! Roar! Du Xiaofu's beast shadow condensed, and a dragon roar pierced through the space. Dragons could be activated, and they turned into a giant dragon shadow that roared out. Swish! Swish! The middle-aged soul of space's claw fell on Du Xiaofu's giant dragon beast energy. As the claw fell, the space was torn apart, and the beast energy was directly destroyed. The claw continued to crush the void and fell directly on Du Xiaofu's body. In an instant, the golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back spread out, tightly wrapping his body. The claw could not break through the golden rock wings. On the golden rock wings, bright golden runes and mysterious runes flowed, and the 36 feathers of the rock glowed. As the claw fell, the space trembled, and the sound of wind and thunder could be heard. It was shocking, and the void was turbulent. Boom! At the same time, Du Xiaofu activated the thunder martial vein in his body and immediately blocked the huge force of the claw print. Crack! Crack! However, at the same time, the terrifying force with a mighty primordial spirit attack directly sent Du Xiaofu's body flying, and the surrounding space was almost torn apart. Strange martial vein, déjà vu, you sigh. However, the aura of Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein made the middle-aged soul of space's face change drastically. After stabilizing his body, Du Xiaofu set up the green spirit armor and thunder martial vein. His face was extremely solemn. The strength of this space soul of the ancient desolate space was so terrifying. He was definitely the strongest person he had met alone. More importantly, in the ancient desolate space, he was suppressed everywhere, and it was impossible for him to compete with him. Kid, end this quickly. Sigh. The middle-aged space spirit's eyes darkened when he realized that he still couldn't finish off Lin Fan after several attempts. He must obtain the remaining ancient desolate space. Chapter 24:15. Swoosh. Following his shout, the middle-aged space spirit controlled the power of space. His speed was as fast as lightning, and he appeared in front of Du Xiaofu in an instant. He sneered, and the strange misty rune ribbon in his hand carried a fierce force as it viciously shot towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's gaze was grave. The space around him had been sealed, and it was difficult for him to even move a single step. The power of space was too strong. Du Xiaofu was very familiar with this feeling. This was the advantage of controlling the ancient, desolate space. If he was in his own ancient, desolate space, he would be able to make his opponents feel the same way. "Kid, in my space, you're just an ant," the middle-aged space spirit sneered. The misty rune ribbon carried the momentum of breaking through the air, and in a flash, it was already in front of Du Xiaofu. Although Du Xiaofu's expression was grave, he still suddenly raised his right hand and slammed it down in front of him. The purple-gold runes in his hand flashed, and a huge purple-gold thunderbolt surged out in front of him like a giant python. Its vast power and murderous intent shook the void. The middle-aged space spirit was also a little surprised by the astonishing power of the purple-gold thunderbolt. It seemed to be absolutely affected. Boom, boom. In a short instant, the purple-gold thunderbolt in Du Xiaofu's hand rumbled out like an angry dragon. Wherever the thunderbolt passed, the space was immediately distorted. A huge, muffled sound reverberated in the air, and then it collided with the rune ribbon in front of him. Boom, boom. The void trembled as the two forces collided. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The runes shattered, and a deep spatial hole was directly blasted open in the space. Traces of spatial cracks revealed the dark and heart-palpitating light of the runes. Space shattered, and a terrifying energy storm immediately swept out like a hurricane. However, when the storm spread to a certain range, it came to a sudden stop and was completely annihilated without a sound. Boom. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's body was blown away like a broken kite. He only stabilized himself after flying for several dozen meters. Golden blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Under the control of the space spirit, Du Xiaofu felt that it was difficult for him to display even half of his strength. This was because he was familiar with the desolate ancient space. If it were someone else, it would be even more difficult to deal with. You're only of the late stage of the Sage Realm. However, you have many tricks up your sleeves. It seems that you have a lot of secrets on your body, and I'll get all of them today. The middle-aged space soul looked at Du Xiaofu and sneered. The human's defense and combat strength, the familiar martial vein, and even the golden armor were absolutely strange and terrifying. There must be a lot of secrets on him. If the space soul could get his hands on them, it would gain some benefits. Chi, the middle-aged space soul raised his arm again as his voice faded away. A claw print appeared in his hand and distorted the space. A strange smile appeared on his face. At the same time, the claw print left behind some afterimages. Then, it once again enveloped Du Xiaofu. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's soul trembled as he felt his heart pounding. This claw imprint seemed to be able to control the entire space. Such a crushing force was absolutely terrifying to the extreme. The great rock flapped its golden wings and instantly retreated. "This is my space. You can't escape." Chi, the middle-aged space soul sneered. The claw print suddenly formed a strange arc and tore towards Du Xiaofu. Whoosh! Chi, in an instant, the void fluctuated as the entire space distorted. Du Xiaofu felt himself being completely enveloped, and the speed of his golden rock wings was greatly reduced. Under the control of the soul of space, he could only struggle with great difficulty, and was completely under the control of the soul of space. Chi! Chi! Suddenly, a monstrous purple flame gushed out from Du Xiaofu's body and blocked the claw print. It seemed to have turned into a huge phantom of a purple-flamed demonic phoenix. The surging flames illuminated the distorted void, making it resplendent and gorgeous. The purple symbols were accompanied by dense steam, and the blazing heat rushed into the heavens. The purple light was resplendent. When the claw print was blocked by the golden flame, it paused for a moment. With a sizzling sound, a thick white fog spread out. It was actually beginning to burn. The middle-aged space soul's face darkened. He felt a little strange, but then the giant claw in the distance collapsed. The claw print tore the space apart, and directly tore the phantom of the purple flame demonic phoenix into the space crack. The next moment, the middle-aged space soul appeared directly in the air in front of Du Xiaofu. The middle-aged space soul already knew that Du Xiaofu's defense was very strong. As the misty runes fluctuated, a bright spatial palm print burst out. It smashed directly towards Du Xiaofu's head with a terrible vital spirit attack. Chi. It was too fast for Du Xiaofu to dodge. As his face changed greatly, the golden rock wings on his back spread out and wrapped around his body. Humph! Chi! The middle-aged space soul snorted coldly. The spatial palm print, like a monstrous giant hand, slapped directly on Du Xiaofu's body. Crack! Crack! The golden feather cracked and shattered. On Du Xiaofu's blue spirit armor, there was a muffled sound of space being torn apart. The whole space suddenly trembled. The terrible and majestic impact fell on Du Xiaofu's blue spirit armor. Runes spread out rapidly, but they were blocked by the purple and gold light on the blue spirit armor. The middle-aged space soul originally thought that it could at least break Du Xiaofu's defense. Bang! Bang! However, the power of this blow sent Du Xiaofu's body flying into the distance again. Wherever his body passed, the space rippled directly. In the sky, a crack that was thousands of meters long appeared and spread out. Boy, let's see how long you can hold on. The middle-aged space soul's face became gloomier and gloomier. An invisible force spread out from his body. With his figure as the center, the vast space was directly distorted. I'm in big trouble. Du Xiaofu's heart sank. It seemed that the space soul did not intend to hold back. In this desolate space, which was controlled by the space soul, it was extremely difficult for him to move. In this desolate space, there was a force of thousands of kilograms crushing on him, tightly binding him from all directions. Die! The middle-aged space soul's eyes darkened. He sneered, and with a misty fingerprint, the space began to collapse and shatter. I'm afraid it's not enough. Bang! Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. A silver and gold talisman secret pattern burst out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, a golden light shot up to the sky. Great power! Ow! Ow! The space trembled. Endless dazzling golden light exploded like a waterfall, accompanied by silver and gold lightning arcs and talisman secret patterns. It was as if the sun was in the sky, causing the entire space to tremble violently. It was as if the world was about to be suppressed and destroyed. Whoosh! Ow! A huge figure of a red-bone horse monkey appeared. A powerful aura of life began to erupt, communicating with the heavens and earth. It gave the feeling of the beginning of the world and the beginning of all things. The surrounding space rippled violently. The terrifying aura seemed to be able to sweep across the area and suppress everything. At this moment, lightning arcs wreaked havoc in the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. At this moment, the red-bone horse monkey appeared, releasing a dazzling golden light. Amidst the lightning and thunder, an endless aura swept across the sky. It even carried the power of a sovereign's primordial spirit, as if a sovereign had been born. With the appearance of the red-bone horse monkey, the dazzling silver and gold lightning around its body surged violently. Suddenly, a fist print blasted out. Amidst the lightning and thunder, it instantly blocked the middle-aged space soul's claw print. The collision was like a collision between two meteorites. Amidst the lightning and thunder, the surrounding space was torn into pieces. A shocking gale swept out. Redbone horse monkey, primordial spirit, or pulse soul. The middle-aged space soul's body trembled. At this moment, its gaze was fixed on Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit pulse soul. Its gaze was shocked to the extreme, and there was a hint of fear in its eyes. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved. It was as he had expected. The space soul seemed to be afraid of the redbone horse monkey. Speaking of which, the space soul was an existence similar to a primordial spirit. It was suppressed by the spiritual lightning in the redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit pulse soul. From the moment it displayed its domineering aura, Du Xiaofu felt that the space soul contained a primordial spirit attack. However, it was also afraid of primordial spirit attacks. What kind of lightning profound is this? If I can devour it, Who can be my opponent in the future? The middle-aged space soul's gaze was fixed on Du Xiaofu's redbone horse monkey primordial spirit pulse soul. He could feel that as long as he devoured the power of lightning, he would be invincible in the future. Kid, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. The heavens are helping me. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. The middle-aged space soul's eyes flickered slightly. A misty aura that covered the sky and earth surged out from his body. In an instant, another palm print was pushed out. Roar! The redbone horse monkey primordial spirit pulse soul's mind moved. Its huge body suddenly leaped out and punched out again. The fist seemed to have shattered the space before it. The space in the box split open and the ripples directly reached the middle-aged space soul's body. Oomph! The middle-aged space soul snorted. The palm print collapsed and directly collided with the fist of the redbone horse monkey primordial spirit pulse soul. The moment the two forces collided, the void directly shattered. Then, there was a shocking explosion. Bang! 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 The golden light was boundless. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The power of several kinds of spiritual thunder swept out. Under the shocking explosion, the space directly exploded. The redbone horse monkey primordial spirit pulse soul's huge body was pushed back again. However, this time, the middle-aged space soul's body was covered with electric arcs. It seemed to be afraid and retreated in a panic. As the redbone horse monkey primordial spirit pulse soul's body was pushed back, it stabilized its body in a few steps. With a roar, its huge body rushed out with a shocking pressure. In a flash, it appeared in front of the middle-aged space soul. Chapter 24:16. Oomph! The middle-aged soul of space snorted coldly again. Then, a beam of light condensed from his hand and shot up into the sky, attacking the scarlet horse monkey primordial spirit. Bang! Bang! Shocking energy exploded in the sky, causing the space to shatter inch by inch. This collision was so terrifying that it tore the space apart. Chi. Under the majestic force, the scarlet horse monkey primordial spirit was forced back again. In this space, I can't fight back. He has everything under his control. Du Xiaofu looked serious. After all, this was his opponent's space. He was no match for him. Kid, let's see how you can stop me. All your tricks are useless. After I finish you, everything you have will be mine. Bang! In just a short moment, after forcing the scarlet horse monkey primordial spirit back, the middle-aged soul of space appeared in front of Du Xiaofu as if he had teleported. At the same time, he punched out. The space in front of the fist distorted, revealing a circle of black space cracks. Do I have to risk my life? Du Xiaofu clenched his teeth and said to himself. He directly activated the 8 trigrams. The 8 trigrams in the void swept out like a divine ring. It was suffused with dazzling light, and various strange phenomena surged out. The void suddenly changed. Suddenly, lightning and stars descended, and raging flames descended. Heaven and earth resonated. The mighty and surging power, in the sea of dazzling talismans, gave rise to stormy waves, and directly swept towards the middle-aged soul of space. Bang! At this moment, the middle-aged soul of space's expression changed again. He had never seen such a terrifying aura before. On the 8 trigrams diagram, Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein erupted. A monstrous killing aura spread out. In an instant, he punched out. The middle-aged soul of space's expression changed. He waved his hand and punched out. The two fists collided with each other in an instant. An oppressive and monstrous spiritual thunder pressure fluctuated rapidly in the air like a wave. At this moment, within the 8 trigrams diagram, the middle-aged soul of space was also affected. He was forced back. Roar! Bang! In an instant, the redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit pounced forward. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. It released its full strength and brought the thunder martial vein down. It turned into a huge, silver-gold lightning ball. The pressure of the spiritual thunder was too terrifying. The middle-aged space soul had just been pushed back when his expression changed drastically. Then, he threw out another punch that was filled with misty energy. Bang bang! The two fists collided with each other like meteorites colliding. Sparks flew out from the collision of their powers. Lightning flashed, and the void surged. Waves of terrifying energy spread out, and the entire space began to tremble. At the point of impact, the light from the energy talisman runes that seemed to have substance rippled crazily. Space itself began to distort under the collision of the terrifying lightning screen and the light from the energy talisman runes. Space exploded, erupting with thunderous booms as the airflow in space was directly torn apart. Thud thud. The redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit meridian soul was instantly pushed back. However, it was only pushed back. The pressure of several types of spiritual lightning filled the entire space, causing the entire Void 8 trigrams diagram to be filled with monstrous spiritual lightning pressure. He's only a late-stage sage expert. How can he be so strong? Impossible. After the middle-aged space soul stabilized his body, he looked at the redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit meridian soul and Du Xiaofu's body. The monstrous spiritual lightning pressure and the strange aura in the void made him feel gloomy. Even the strange lightning aura and this strange space made him feel a little apprehensive. A human being, who was only a late-stage sage expert, actually had all kinds of means that made him feel apprehensive. This was too unbelievable. Boy, I didn't expect you to have such means. But do you really think you can contend against me? The middle-aged soul of space stared at Du Xiaofu with a serious look on his face. He seemed to be confident. As soon as his voice fell, the void around the middle-aged space soul fluctuated again. The vibrating space continued to emit muffled sounds. Large areas of the void were changing and distorting directly. In an instant, lightning flashed and thunder roared above the void. The sky was filled with bright talismans and mysterious runes. In the void, the middle-aged space soul rotated with him. Countless ferocious beasts appeared and roared as they surrounded him. It made him look like a miracle. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's Void 8 trigrams diagram was also greatly affected. It began to collapse and its light began to dim. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed. This was the space soul controlling the power of the ancient, desolate space. The countless beasts were transformed from the power of the ancient, desolate space. A woo! In an instant, the dense, ferocious beasts roared and shattered the void. They covered the sky and the sun as they rushed out and crushed the Void 8 trigrams diagram. Du Xiaofu's expression changed. Suddenly, a strange aura spread out from the scarlet horse monkey's primordial spirit. In this short moment, a thick thundercloud suddenly surged in the space. There were flashes of lightning in the thundercloud. Almost at the same time, the surrounding space began to tremble. A feeling of extreme danger began to spread in the air. As the thunderclouds continued to surge, the wind and clouds in the surrounding space suddenly changed. The thunderclouds were dense, and streaks of lightning filled the air. Terrifying energy fluctuations spread out from within, and along with the sizzling electric radiance, the sky cracked inch by inch. Rumble. The silver-gold radiance shone brightly. Everything happened in an instant. As the thunderclouds surged, silver-gold thunderbolts suddenly burst out of the thunderclouds. Dazzling lightning talisman light sprinkled down. Countless silver-gold thunderbolts descended from the sky, densely covering the entire space in a circle. Rumble. Under the bombardment of the purple and golden lightning pillars in the sky, the entire space was filled with sharp sonic booms. Wherever the silver-golden lightning passed, the space also collapsed with a loud bang. It carried a terrifying power and directly blasted down. This silver-golden lightning contained the earth-shattering thunder, soul-destroying thunder, starlight spiritual thunder, and so on. It contained the power of several spiritual thunders and wanted to destroy everything. Rumble. The light of the lightning flooded the void. It was bright and boundless. The lightning talismans were densely packed and reflected in the void. Above the 8 trigrams diagram, rays of light shot up to the sky as the galaxy spiraled. Around Du Xiaofu's body, the grass of immortality, dark insight grass, and other kinds of ultimates revolved around him, forming a natural scene that resembled a miracle. Heavenly thunder absolute break. Rumble. Heavenly fire dual break. Rumble, rumble. rumble. In the void, the heavenly thunder suddenly fell. Monstrous electric arcs swept across the sky and raging flames filled the sky. The terrifying aura made the whole void tremble. Du Xiaofu activated the 8 trigrams diagram and used various methods comprehended by the 8 trigrams diagram to suppress the beasts in the sky. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand, and a series of extremely mysterious saber shadows surrounded him. As the majestic and sharp aura spread, these saber shadows cut through the space. Under the oppressive aura, the entire space trembled. Then, his whole body was wrapped in the rotating saber light. Thousands of saber lights were rotating mysteriously. An invisible wave of aura spread out in an instant and brought about a ripple in the space. The saber light rotated and suddenly soared into the sky. In an instant, it flew out, containing the number of heaven, earth, yin, and yang. The mysterious saber light swept out and tore the distorted space, forming a series of huge saber light pillars. Boom, boom. Du Xiaofu used all his strength. His eyes shot out purple-gold lightning like 2 purple-gold suns. The domineering and terrifying aura made the space roar. In a short moment, from Du Xiaofu's purple-gold lightning body, a dazzling purple-gold electric arc surged out. A supreme aura filled the air and suppressed the world. At this moment, the dazzling purple-gold electric arc swept across the sky. The purple-gold talisman patterns flickered and swept across the sky. It was impossible to provoke. It also carried the power of execution and swept out in all directions. Gee. The purple-gold electric arc shot out in all directions in the 8 trigrams diagram. It was as if the sun had risen in the 8 trigrams diagram. Countless purple-gold electric arcs poured down and emitted a blazing radiance. A huge purple-gold thunder rock shadow flapped its wings and soared into the sky. The purple-gold thunder rock shadow enveloped Du Xiaofu's body. It was as if the 8 trigrams diagram in the void had merged into one and was about to soar into the sky. Suppress. Suppress. Du Xiaofu shouted. It was like the rock's cry, piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks. It stirred up monstrous electric arcs that rose and fell like a vast ocean. It was as if it wanted to stir up the void and turn the world upside down. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was enveloped in the purple-gold thunder rock. It was as if he had transformed into a real golden-winged rock. Du Xiaofu directly crossed the void and suppressed the densely packed shadows. The shadow behind him spread out its huge wings. Its entire body glittered with purple-gold electric arcs. Its ferocious aura spread out and covered the entire world, causing the whole world to tremble. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams diagram in the void, the thunder martial vein, and the golden-winged rock supreme beast could merge into one. The primordial spirit of the red demonic horse's monkey vein soul also erupted with all its strength. The illusory saber formation attacked the primordial spirit and soul. Such a huge power turned the world upside down. The void rumbled and attacked the middle-aged space soul together. The huge purple-gold thunder rock covered the sky with thunder and lightning. It erupted with a vast power that could not be provoked. Even the middle-aged space soul was flabbergasted by this display of power. This boy is not human. Is he a demon? How could he be so terrifying? The middle-aged space soul was shocked. Such an attack fell on him at the same time. It was even an attack from the primordial spirit and the power at the same time. It was impossible for him to defend himself. I have to say, if we were outside my space, it would be really difficult to deal with you. Yes. The middle-aged space spirit paused for a moment, but then a faint smile appeared on his face. But this is my space after all. Yes. As his voice fell, the figure with the hazy light disappeared in an instant. Du Xiaofu's suppression and restraint seemed to have no effect at all and could not be stopped. As the middle-aged space soul disappeared, strands of hazy light rose in the void and shook the whole void in an instant. For no reason, Du Xiaofu, who had used all his strength at this moment, trembled with fear. He felt that a great danger began to spread in the void and then swept over. He is the desolate ancient space, and the desolate ancient space is him? Yes. Du Xiaofu's expression changed. He secretly gasped and his chest rose and fell violently. The thing he was most worried about had come. Just now, the space soul had been dealing with him. Now, the space soul had completely transformed into the desolate ancient space. He was also the desolate ancient space. A revised version of an old book by Drunken Knight, now titled The Best Teacher and the Beautiful Schoolflower, has been published on the Chasing Wave Network again. Readers who like harem cities can go and have a look. Chapter 24:17. Translator. H2DH2 Mister in the strange, twisted space. Wisps of ancient aura seeped out, distorting space and splitting the heavens. Suddenly, with Du Xiaofu at the center, one could clearly see cracks in the void appear one after another, destroying the 8 trigrams void diagram, isolating the primordial spirit and the red pheasant monkey body, and even cutting the spiritual lightning apart. It was as if space and time were in chaos. This scene was too terrifying, and in a trance, the universe was turning upside down. We're in big trouble now. Du Xiaofu's face was solemn to the extreme. He was the one who understood the desolate ancient space the most. Now that he was in the desolate ancient space, the spirit of space had already given it its all. There was no way it could resist it. If this continues, I won't be able to hold on. I can only take a risk and try. Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. At this time, he could only fight to the death. Qila, in an instant, a blade cut through the air. Du Xiaofu's rock wings flapped, exploding with a brilliant golden light. However, under the restraint of space, it was useless. He could not break free at all. His body was immediately cut in half, and blood poured out. Du Xiaofu frowned. This ancient barren space was far more powerful than the one he controlled. It also seemed to affect time, and he could not stop it at all. His body was cut in half, and a cry of pain came out. Du Xiaofu spat out a mouthful of pale golden blood. Under such heavy injuries, the mysterious light of the purple gold talisman was also affected and could not recover. No matter how strong your body is, you can't stop it. It's all over. Such a voice came from within the space. Cracks in the void interweaved like a spider web. In the chaos of the void, they directly enveloped Du Xiaofu and the red pheasant monkey's primordial spirit and meridian spirit bodies. Xiao, the spatial cracks were accompanied by the chaos of time and space. An abnormally terrifying wave of energy surged, accompanied by an unstoppable wave of aura. Du Xiaofu was very familiar with this aura. It was exactly the same as the aura of the ancient barren space on his body. However, at this moment, compared to the ancient barren space he controlled, this aura was completely different. In my space, you can't stop it. As soon as he said this, the void cracks spread out and destroyed Du Xiaofu and the redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit. The faint golden blood mist and the shattered thunderbolts transformed into electric arcs that filled the entire void. The resplendent light did not disperse and illuminated the void. Everything shattered, but then a ray of light filled with a vast aura appeared in Du Xiaofu's shattered body and origin spirit under the illumination of the dazzling light. The misty light fluctuated like strands of lightning, and it was accompanied by a faintly discernible pressure that crushed the space. In an instant, the light spread out and formed another space in the void. The surrounding space was distorted and rippled. At the same time, a terrifying energy was condensed. This energy was enough to make people's hearts tremble. This space was very strange. It was filled with space-time fluctuations, and the spatial ripples spread out in all directions. Ha 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 ha. At the same time, excited laughter sounded in the void. The middle-aged space soul appeared again in the void, his eyes trembling with excitement. This was another desolate space that he had been looking for. As long as he merged with it, he would be able to fully recover. Otherwise, his great Tao would be incomplete, and he would never be able to reach the peak. Heaven is really helping me. The middle-aged space soul laughed heartily. He did not expect the desolate space to come to him directly. How could he not be happy? Merge. The middle-aged space soul formed a hand seal, and the surrounding void fluctuated. In an instant, a bright light of mysterious runes appeared, and a majestic misty aura suddenly spread out, as if heaven and earth had just been created. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, the desolate space that Du Xiaofu originally controlled in this desolate space involuntarily collided with the desolate space controlled by the middle-aged space soul in a gust of wind and thunder. The two spaces were filled with a misty aura at the same time. The two spaces seemed to be joyfully next to each other in the air, as if they were celebrating a reunion after a long separation. They emitted a strong light and mysterious runes that had never been seen before. The sound of wind and thunder was vast and mighty, and finally overlapped with each other. Whoosh, whoosh. The two spaces overlapped. Suddenly, the space violently distorted and emitted a storm-like light curtain of mysterious runes. It was like a bright sun, and the fluctuations in the entire space became more and more intense. Whoosh, whoosh. As the two spaces overlapped, a terrifying power in this space was also rising. In the void, the eyes of the middle-aged spatial spirit, who had been moving in a straight line, quietly turned scarlet red. He stared at the overlapping ancient, desolate space, whose power was rising. He was clearly an illusory figure, but even his breathing had become a lot rougher. In the void, Du Xiaofu's broken body and primordial spirit had turned into a bloody mist and broken electric arcs. They were still shining, but they had lost their vitality. The middle-aged space soul did not pay attention to them anymore. Whoosh! As the two spaces overlapped, the space became more and more distorted, and the mysterious runes that were like strange gales intertwined. An extremely terrifying energy fluctuation spread out. This kind of fluctuation was unusually majestic. It was as if there was a kind of energy crazily gushing out in the desolate space. Whoosh! At this moment, the two spaces finally overlapped perfectly. A strong light burst out from the desolate space, and the ancient runes intertwined and merged. As the distorted space suddenly froze, the two spaces also suddenly overlapped and merged with the sound of wind and thunder. It was as if two lakes had overlapped and merged together. The misty aura was vast and mighty, and the wind and thunder were fierce. A surge of majestic power of heaven and earth that made one's heart tremble soared. In this space, there was a surge of energy of heaven and earth that covered the sky and earth, and it was instantly absorbed. Boom! Whoosh! The energy that covered the sky and earth was like a storm, and it swept out in all directions. The entire space seemed to be overturned, and the majestic aura made people feel cold. Such a terrifying movement was enough to make a Saint Realm expert feel small and insignificant. At this moment, the two overlapping spaces had completely merged, and the aura in this desolate space was completely different from before. Buzz, buzz. In the desolate space, a loud buzzing sound of wind and thunder was heard. This sound was melodious and low, and it carried an aura that made one's soul tremble. The aura gradually stabilized. Awu, in the depths of the vast space, the roars of thousands of beasts spread out. Then, an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation gradually began to surge. This surging aura was enough to make all living things tremble. The terrifying surging aura was accompanied by a wave of oppressive aura. At this moment, even an ordinary Saint Realm expert would feel an absolute suppression. Chapter 24:18. Ha ha ha, I succeeded. The middle-aged soul of space laughed heartily. He was excited. He had finally recovered completely. The entire space was filled with a hazy light screen. At this moment, the majestic power of the ancient, desolate space shocked him. However, before the middle-aged space soul could finish his words, he frowned slightly, as if he had sensed something. He immediately looked at Du Xiaofu, who had turned into a cloud of blood mist and broken electric arcs, and his nascent spirit. He seemed very shocked and puzzled. How is this possible, boy? You're not dead yet? As the voice of the middle-aged space soul fell, the light in the blood mist and the broken electric arcs became more and more intense. The blood mist was filled with purple gold light, and the electric arcs were filled with silver gold lightning runes. They gradually intertwined with each other. Then, under the middle-aged space soul's shocked gaze, Du Xiaofu and his primordial spirit, who had just turned into a bloody mist and broken electric arcs, were restored to their original state amidst the monstrous purple gold light and silver gold lightning. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Dazzling lightning runes interweaved with each other. Du Xiaofu recovered. While his corporeal body was recovering, the broken azure spirit armor and the great Pong golden wings were also intact. The Yuan Shan bloodline soul body, redbone horse monkey, stood at the side as silver gold lightning exploded. What a powerful desolate space. This is the real desolate space. Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled as he instantly sensed the changes in the desolate ancient space. The two parts of the desolate ancient space had already fused back into one. At this moment, the majestic and terrifying aura it exuded was simply too shocking. It wasn't something the original desolate ancient space he controlled could compare to. But at this moment, the middle-aged space soul stared at Du Xiaofu and his primordial spirit in great shock. He clearly felt that the kid was dead, but as the space soul of desolation completely merged with the primordial spirit, he realized that the original half of the desolation space still had traces of the human's breath. The human was not dead at all, and the primordial spirit's breath was still in the desolation space. You're lucky, kid. But now that I've completely recovered, there's nothing you can do. Kiki. The middle-aged space soul laughed sinisterly. At this moment, he had completely recovered. Even if he let this kid go, it would not affect him. Don't forget, you are the soul of the ancient, desolate space. But so am I, Du Xiaofu spoke in a gloomy voice. This middle-aged man was a new spatial soul born from the desolate ancient space. However, he himself had fused with the soul seed of the original desolate ancient space. Hence, he was also a spatial soul of the desolate ancient space. At this moment, the ancient desolate space was fusing together. The person who fused with the ancient desolate space last would be able to truly control it. In the original battle, Du Xiaofu felt that he was no match for the middle-aged man. In the middle-aged man's desolate space, he was suppressed everywhere. That was why he decided to take the risk and let the middle-aged man fuse with his desolate space. When the two halves of the desolate space fused, he would also become the desolate space soul. At that time, he would no longer be suppressed. Of course, this was also an absolute risk. All of this was just Du Xiaofu's guess. He had not tried it out yet. If he was not careful, he might not be able to recover. This was a method of survival. At this moment, feeling the connection between himself and the ancient, desolate space, Du Xiaofu knew that he had succeeded. Although the two halves of the ancient, desolate space had fused together, the middle-aged man did not fuse with him. He could still control the two halves of the ancient, desolate space. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the middle-aged, desolate space soul was taken aback, and his expression changed. Kid, you are still not my match. Then I'll fuse with you first and completely recover. Oomph! The middle-aged space soul shouted coldly. He knew that only by fusing with the kid's primordial spirit could he completely recover. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately pounced on Du Xiaofu. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Du Xiaofu like a ghost. Instantly, the surrounding void started to distort as a series of cracks extended out from the void. A torrential binding power shrouded out, causing the void to become chaotic as it shrouded Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes, and a purple gold light fluctuated in his eyes. At this moment, there was a strange fluctuation in the space around him. In an instant, his figure and the redbone horse monkey's body disappeared. When Du Xiaofu's figure and the redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit appeared again, they were already out of the range of the ancient, desolate space. His eyes were filled with surprise, but then he smiled. Just as he expected, now that the two halves of the ancient, desolate space had fused together as a part of the space soul, he was no longer suppressed. The middle-aged space soul's expression changed. He was shocked. Then his expression darkened, and he formed a hand seal again. As the middle-aged space soul's hand seal formed, the space around him fluctuated again. The vibrating space constantly produced muffled sounds. Large swathes of the ancient, desolate space were directly distorted and changed. In a short moment, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled above the ancient, desolate space. The sky was filled with dazzling talismans and mysterious inscriptions. In the ancient, desolate space, the dazzling and misty light rotated with the middle-aged space soul. Countless ferocious beasts appeared and roared as they surrounded him, making him look like a miracle. This move again? Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. His expression was rather relaxed. Oh, war! Tens of thousands of beasts roared and hissed, causing the void to tremble. Some ferocious beasts spread their wings and soared into the sky. Some savage beasts roared, and some ferocious beasts roared. The void was collapsing, the stars were sinking, and the mountains and rivers were surging, forming a shocking phenomenon of the world. At this moment, in this part of the ancient, desolate space, the rumbling sound was like the sound of heaven. It was like a world, enveloping Du Xiaofu in the primordial spirit meridian soul's body. Such a vast momentum could shake and destroy everything. At this moment, Du Xiaofu looked at the sky in front of him. The vast momentum was crushing down on him, but he did not seem to be affected by it. He did not move at all. Just as the mighty momentum was crushing down on him like a world, Du Xiaofu's figure directly crossed it. In the midst of the roaring beasts, the falling Milky Way, and the ancient desolate space, it was as if there was no one there. He was not affected at all. As I said, I am also the soul of the ancient desolate space. Speaking of which, I am the real soul of the ancient desolate space. You are just a tool after all. Oh, war! When these words fell, Du Xiaofu's figure had already appeared in front of the middle-aged soul of the space. The rock wings on his back flapped, and his eyes suddenly shone with golden light. An incomparably domineering momentum suddenly spread out from his tall and straight body. It was as if a peerless, ferocious beast had flapped its wings and swept across the ancient, desolate space. It was as if a rock had descended to the 9 heavens. When he opened his mouth and roared, there was a dragon's roar in the 9 heavens. Oh, woo! Oh, woo! Oh, woo! The sound waves swept out like a tsunami. The entire ancient, desolate space was roaring. Countless roars reverberated in the ancient, desolate space, like a chain of thunder from the 9 heavens. In these loud roars, there was an all-pervasive sound wave that entered the ears and turned into a strange and domineering martial way. Caught off guard, the middle-aged soul of the space's expression changed greatly, and he was forced to retreat.